All right. Welcome to July 22nd. Appreciate you guys attending your business meeting here today. We plan on running an effective, efficient one with lots of public discussion. We're going to officially call ourselves to order here today. If I could ask everyone to please rise. We're going to have Jeremy McMorris come forward and offer the invocation and then remain standing for the pledges.
Please join with me in prayer. Father, you are great and you're greatly to be praised, and we are all thankful that we live in a place that wants to start its meeting with addressing you and asking for your blessing. And so I do pray that you would bless this meeting, that you would bless the men and women who serve this city, that you would bless this city, that we would live our lives according to your word and your ways, and that you would continue to prosper us because of our intention and desire to do so. We pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, sir. If y'all join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Please be seated. I also love that we start our meetings addressing, our Father and the King, and then I love the fact that we actually know both pledges and that you guys join in with that. And so thank you guys for being patriots and being great citizens and always being plugged into your community. We are 5 volunteers that are working real hard for you up here, so we're going to continue to push good business practices forward, and we've got a few of those to get through here today. Number 5 is proclamations. We have nothing to proclaim here today other than we're thankful to be here and looking forward to a good meeting. Do we have any announcements, Mr. City Manager? Okay. We're going to move into item number 7, which is public comment. I'm going to ask City Secretary to read us into that and then have her handle the clock.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for participating in today's City Council meeting. Your input and your opinions are important to us, and we're glad you're here to share them. At each posted meeting, we invite our fellow community members to address City Council regarding posted agenda items or topics related to city policy. Every speaker today will have 3 minutes to address the council during this public comment section and during any public hearings. We ask that you stay within your 3 minutes allotted. We do have multiple public hearings today, so if you're here to speak on a public hearing, we would ask that you speak on it either during the public hearing or during public comment, but not both, in order to help us keep accurate records. It's your decision at which point you would like to speak on that item. When you come to the microphone today, please state your name and whether or not you live within the Amarillo city limits. If addressing council on an agenda item, we would ask that you state your position so it can be reflected properly in our minutes. If you're speaking on an item not on today's agenda, the Texas Open Meetings Act limits how our elected officials may respond. Council may respond with a statement of fact. They may ask that the topic be added to a future agenda, or they may refer the matter to the city manager, who can have staff step out and visit with you regarding your topic. So again, thank you for being here today. Our first public commenter will be Alan Fineold, and after Alan will be Hope McCoy.
Hello. I am a citizen of the city of Amarillo. I live within the city limits. About 3 months ago, I addressed this council concerning the way that the Amarillo City Utility Department determines water rates. I want to recapitulate that, but in order to do so, I think I should use some terms which I will give you at the present time. 1-inch meter line, that's essentially the passageway through a meter, 1 inch in diameter, through the meter from the city-owned pressurized water main to the customer-owned water line. If n is a positive integer, an n-inch meter line is the same sort of passageway. It simply has a diameter of n inches. Meter fee, you may have heard this term many times, but I have never heard it actually defined. Essentially, it's an access fee, that is, access to the water. To call it a meter fee is, in point of fact, inaccurate, but that may be subject to debate, and since I do not have the time to engage in that sort of debate today, I will simply leave it with you that a meter fee should be called an access fee, and I will use those two words interchangeably. Unit price, price per 1,000 gallons. That's 1,000 gallons of water, and that is the standard unit by which the city charges its customers. There are three types of customers: residential, commercial, and industrial. Water use, that does not actually refer to the use that the customer makes of the water. It refers to the withdrawal of potable water from a pressurized system. The city has several such pressurized systems. Last time I mentioned a ratio, that which was paid by your least frugal water users at a residence using, say, 100,000 gallons of water, and compared that to the most frugal water user or residences of the most frugal water users using only 1,000 gallons. The ratio that was paid was 4 times, that is, the most frugal water users paid 4 times as much as the least frugal water users. I wish I had more time to discuss this with you. Next time we will go into the fees that are paid by commercial water users and compare that to the frugal residential water user. Thank you.
Next up is Hope McCoy.
Good afternoon, Mayor and City Council. I'm Hope McCoy. I live in Pleasant Valley, River Road area. I'm here to ask each of you, what do you want your legacy to be when your time here on these seats ends? What do you want to be remembered for? I believe you all on this board can finally be the difference all of Amarillo needs, or I wouldn't be standing here before you. I would consider you all still new kids on the block that are still learning, but you're each here willing to learn and to do the job of being good stewards of each taxpayer's money. Look, I know your jobs aren't easy. I've only been coming here since like February or March, and I see the difficult decisions you all have to sign off on. I know you can't please every tax-paying citizen, but there must be a balance in listening to the poor as well as the rich, and especially to those of us in between. Without that balance, there won't be worker citizens to do the infrastructure work that needs to be done. So as Mr. Path told me in a meeting, and as well as what Tom Sherling said in his campaign speech, that the city of Amarillo, I believe as a whole, needs to be maintained. The city can't continue to only go by new shiny objects when the old stops to shine. What I'm trying to say is the older neighborhoods, all of them north of I-40, matter too, especially neighborhoods like Pleasant Valley, River Road, where 2 major highways intersect. But yet all we have out there is a Toot and Totem and a couple of great Mexican food restaurants. But why is that? I hear the term landlocked, which I understand you can't build east because of Highland Park, to the west is Bushland, and the south side is filling up. But when I look to the north, south, east, and west of St. Francis, Dumas Highway, and even on River Road, there is potential. We even have an empty shopping center, Valley Plaza, that needs some TLC. There are open spaces out there, some even up for sale. Less than a mile of us, we have the vineyards that's still growing, same as Fox Hollow, and then there's still us, the old community, Pleasant Valley, and then to the further north, River Road. I truly believe where there's a will, there is a way. So won't the city help us find that way? We, the citizens of Pleasant Valley, River Road, know we must be the first to take that step in revitalization, and we have by forming a board and we're hoping to become the next recognized neighborhood, maybe even a Tiers. In closing, I'd just like to say I hope you are the board that finally makes the difference for all of Amarillo. We have to plan for the future visitors that are coming through Ports of Plain and the crossbar visitors, and we just need some basic infrastructure out there. And I hope y'all plan for something for us soon. Thank you.
Mayor, that concludes everyone that signed up today.
Thank you, Ms. City Secretary. Do I have anyone else here today who would like to offer public comment? Mr. Fischer, if you'd step forward.
My name's Mike Fisher. I live in the city limits of Amarillo. Mayor Stanley, I want to begin with something from a brother, not a critic. But as a neighbor, as a citizen, and someone who voted for you because I believed in the fire you had to do what was right. I remember when you stood up against the former mayor over the flying the Ukrainian flag. It was a lot of fun watching that, like that kind of stuff where you stood up to these guys, and you did it 4-on-1. And you know, as now that you're mayor, I don't know what that ratio is now, but that moment stuck with me. You weren't afraid to speak out. You weren't afraid to fight. That's the Cole Stanley I voted for when you were on the council, and that's the Cole Stanley I voted for twice as mayor. So from a brother's keeper, I'm asking you, where is that Cole Stanley now? Because what I see today doesn't feel like the same man. And I say that not with anger, but with concern, a brother's keeper kind of concern. We need that fire back. We need that voice back, because what's happening at City Hall isn't governance, it's a circus. Cole, I need your help, because right now this city feels like it's running on games and everyone in leadership is playing something different. Laura Storrs, she's playing dodgeball with public information. It's been almost 2 months since I requested the check register data. She says it's simple, but then says can't give you ACH information, nor deposits, nor wire transfers. That's not simple. That's playing keep away. City manager, he's playing hide and seek. I ask for the check register data related to AEDC, and he gives me general ledger data. He hides and I seek. City attorney, he's over here on Candy Crush. And they all, every single one of them, look around, playing peekaboo. When I speak about serious allegations, they look away, avoiding eye contact. Meanwhile, I'm stuck playing who wants to go to prison next. Because let's not forget, 2 former city employees are sitting in jail for stealing HUD money. And with the way this city is hiding information, stonewalling records, and dodging accountability, I wouldn't be surprised if we're not done yet. Cole, I didn't come here to grandstand. I came here because I still believe you care, because I know you fought before, and I believe you still can. So I'm asking, as from one Amarillo to another, be Cole, speak up, help stop the games, bring back the Cole we all believed in.
Thank you, Mr. Fisher. Appreciate your concern and your comments. Do I have anyone else here today who'd like to offer public comment? Okay. Seeing no one, we'll go ahead and close public comment, move forward with the rest of our business meeting. Item number 8 is our consent agenda. Do I have anything that needs to come off on the consent agenda? Councilman Simpson, I see your mic on.
Mayor, I would like to bring 8E off just for a little education and information separately from the consent agenda.
Can you repeat that again?
Item 8E, consider the investment policy.
Item 8D.
E.
Item 8E.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anything else need to come off, gentlemen? Okay, would entertain a motion on consent agenda. So moved. Do I have So moved. Do I have a second that authorizes the consent agenda as presented with the exception of 8E?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Let's move to item 8E. Let's see who we want to hand that to, Mr. Path. Okay, Mrs. Storrs is coming up. Ms. Storrs, if you'll run with that one.
Yes. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Item 8E is a resolution updating the City of Amarillo investment policy. The City of Amarillo has public funds, and so they are subject to the Public Funds Investment Act, which is all outlined in state law. One of the requirements is that it has to be reviewed annually. So the good news is we don't have any changes related to the city's portion of the policy this year, but we have been in discussions with the AEDC board, and at this past council meeting, AEDC voted to recommend that City Council change one paragraph in the city's investment policy related to the AEDC investment of their funds. And so previously, AEDC had a restriction that investments should be no more than 190 days to maturity, and that's historically how we had invested their funds. On the city's investment policy, it's a little more broad than that, and so what AEDC has asked is if they could align their investments to similar to how the city does theirs. So let me give you just a couple of things outlined in the city's investment policy that would kind of change based on this request from the AEDC board. So one of the big factors is the investments in agencies and instrumentalities is limited to 75% of the portfolio. And that certainly will not be an issue with them. They cannot invest more than 25% of the portfolio in callable securities. And we haven't done as many callable securities in the last several years, so that certainly will not be an issue for them. The combined cash equivalent investment should be a minimum of 15% of the overall portfolio. We have kept much more than that in AEDC historically because their balances have actually grown as sales tax has grown quite a bit since COVID. And historically, AEDC wanted to have a lot more liquidity in case a project came up. And so we pretty much just invested in money market accounts, which have overnight availability, and in CDs or CEDARs, and those usually stretch no more than a 52-week period. And so this would actually allow them to go out. The final piece on the city's investment policy that would pertain to them, that is really a change for them, is all investments purchased will have a maturity date that does not exceed 5 years. So we would not be buying anything outside of a 5-year maturity. At all times, at least 80% of the portfolio, so in this case, 80% of AEDC's portfolio, would be required to be invested with maturities of 2 years or less. So it would still keep them very liquid. No more than 20% of the portfolio can be held in maturities ranging from 2 to 5 years. And the maximum dollar-weighted average maturity of the portfolio, so of AEDC's portfolio in this case, would not exceed 1 year. So it's just allowing them to go out. Actually, since COVID, since interest rates have changed, and actually they went up quite a bit, the yield curve has been inverted, which means that short-term securities, short-term investments were getting a higher yield than further out investments. And that's normally not how it works. And so what they are asking is they want to go ahead and allow the ability for the city to invest their funds out a little bit further than a 190-day period. So as that yield curve at some point starts normalizing, where longer term investments get a higher yield than the shorter term, that we can go ahead and lock them in to get some of those interest rates. So we don't have any concerns from the city's standpoint on this. We would essentially keep their portfolio almost in a separate ladder than the city's investments, and we would try to ladder their investments out over the 5-year period, with the bulk of the investments being 2 years or less. So that was voted on by the board at their last meeting. I believe it was on the 15th. And they are asking, because council approves the city's policy, and this is a part of it, just to align their portion of it with what the city's parameters are. Can I answer any questions on that?
So historically, I mean, the investments for the AEDC have been more shorter term.
That's correct, yes.
And why was that?
Well, I think and again, I don't want to necessarily speak for AEDC, but I think this goes back quite a ways, and I don't know that they had the same amount of cash flow that they have over maybe the last 5 to 10 years. And so they needed to keep everything much more short term in case a project came up and they needed to do some sort of an incentive or some sort of a cash upfront amount. That way they didn't have things tied up in longer term investments where they were looking to either sell them and have to realize some sort of a loss, something to that standpoint. So I think part of it has just been how much AEDC has grown even over the last 5 to 10 years. And the city has as well from a sales tax standpoint.
So, I mean, this is just giving them the flexibility to invest it at different time levels to earn more off of that money if it's not being used. But
that's
coming
correct.
up with a formula that still allows enough liquidity to do the projects or have enough available.
That's correct. And just as a quick reminder, on the very first page of the city's investment policy, and this applies to all public funds, there's 3 objectives. The first objective is to preserve capital. We don't want to be losing money. We don't want to be recognizing any kind of losses. And then the second one is to make sure we're liquid, to provide liquidity. That is so important because we have to have availability to access cash when needed. And then the third one is actually to optimize earnings. So it's a little bit different than maybe a for-profit entity might be. This is all required by state law. And so I think AEDC, with their recommendation to City Council, would still meet this criteria. We would work very carefully with the AEDC team to look at their upcoming obligations over the next 2 to 5 years to make sure that we have proper cash flow coming in. They are, again, they have been invested in very short-term investments up to this point, which have done very well over the last few years, but we do anticipate that'll change at some point. But we'll work closely with them.
And generally, so if you take the money out before the 2 or 5 year period, what are the penalties that are associated with that?
So it depends, because you could potentially recognize a loss and not get your full amount that you had invested in back, depending on what kind of security that you were looking at or what type of investment. So, but the city's policy, which would also apply to AEDC, is that we hold everything to full maturity, because we don't ever want to compromise any taxpayer dollars by recognizing some sort of a loss by liquidating an investment too early.
So if we had some major project that came along, I mean, I guess, is there the potential to not have enough money available, or is it that generally those incentives are paid off for a longer term, so it could be 2 and 5 years out? So.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think most of their incentives are structured out over maybe a 5 to a 10-year period, which would allow us that ability to make sure that we're planning investments appropriately. The other thing that we have, because they're part of the city's investment portfolio overall, if we ever got into a bind, we could look at if the city had the ability to take over one of their long-term investments without us truly having to go out and liquidate that investment and recognize some sort of a loss. So we would work closely with them on that. Again, no more than 20% of the portfolio could be in that 3 to 5 range period. So that is definitely a smaller amount, especially for AEDC, but we would watch it very closely, and we would shrink that 20% if we saw that they were going to need cash flow in those upcoming years.
And then one final question. I mean, all of how we can invest our money, whether it's EDC or city, all those guidelines are provided by the state of Texas? That's correct. And how we can do that, so we have to follow under their guidelines?
Yes, that is correct. That is correct. And essentially, I always tell people we can only invest in very plain vanilla investments. We are not allowed to put our money in the stock market or anything like that. They have to be very safe, secure investments.
Well, no, I think it's a good idea, and I'm glad they made the recommendation, because I do think using that amount of money to its maximum amount instead of just the 190 days, it gives a benefit to be able to leverage that while it's sitting there until we have a project to use. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes. Thanks.
Any other questions, council? Who manages that portfolio, Mrs. Storrs?
So that would be our finance department, along with, we have a third-party consultant group, Valley View Consulting, and they monitor it as well. So, yes.
And so is that annualized? Is it quarterly? When does that portfolio go out? Does the EDC receive it?
Yes. So also, according to state law, we have to provide quarterly investment reports, and so we provide those to AEDC as well. And we certainly, if they have questions, on a monthly basis, because it's all being monitored on a monthly basis, but we do the formalized reporting on a quarterly basis.
And you said that's Valley View Consulting?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And are they the ones that are responsible to produce that portfolio?
They work in coordination with our finance department to do it,
okay.
yes.
Are they the ones that are responsible to give it to the EDC board members?
So it's the city's responsibility.
Just the city's responsibility?
Yes, because they work for us. Valley View works for us.
Okay. Any other questions?
I have a question.
Yes,
what's the rate of return? What have we seen on, a 3 or a
What's the
1 year?
Average,
I guess, yeah.
It's been fluctuating, and again, we've had most investments, especially even with AEDC, in shorter term CDARS and money market accounts. And over the last year, we have seen anywhere from 4 to 4.5% return on it. So it's been decent. Actually, if we had gone out to the 3 to 5 year period, it would have been lower. I think, and I don't want to throw a number out there, but I do know for sure right now those numbers are lower at this point. But at some point, that yield curve will normalize, and those longer term investments will be worth more. They'll have the higher yield than what the short term does. And so we're trying to get prepared for that so we can start making sure we optimize their earnings.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
And in the spirit of things that we've been doing with the check registry and a few other things to address, like maybe Mr. Fischer's point on check registry and transparency, is there any reason why that portfolio wouldn't be maybe put up at public view? I mean, I know you're giving it out quarterly. Is that something we can put on the dashboard as well, or what would be your thoughts in that?
We certainly could look into adding the city's quarterly investment report out on our financial transparency website if that's something council wanted. We would not recommend putting AEDCs out there. That's their information. If they wanted to share it, they certainly could, but it's always available through an open records request if someone wants to access it that way.
Great. Good discussion. Did you have anything else?
No, I'm good.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Storrs. Would ask for a motion on item 8E.
I move to adopt item 8E as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? 8E passes. We will move right along to Section 9, our discussion items. Item 9A, Council, do I have anything up for review on this agenda? Anybody got questions? Okay. Item 9B, a recap of 2025 Independence Day +1. As Mr. Kashuba makes his way up here, I would point your attention to several $1 million that are being put into your community through Parks and Rec in a great master plan that's covering park lighting, some Musco lighting that's going out. There'll be an additional pathway into John Stiff Park, some additional parking lots, all sorts of good things that you're seeing. I think that we visibly get to witness some of the biggest improvements that we've seen over the last couple of years when it comes to your department. So, man, we're thankful that that you're out there pushing that money in good places. And so tell us a little bit about maybe our second year here to celebrate Independence Day.
Yeah, Mayor and Council, Michael Kashuba, Director of Parks and Recreation. First of all, I want to just appreciate council support. Obviously, this is year 2. It takes a lot of effort from staff, not just our department, but from across city departments. And so we get to kind of recap that a little bit today. First of all, I want to recognize Becky Dreyer. She likes to sit in the back and doesn't like a lot of attention, but she's the brains behind this event and really leading the charge with a lot of our programs that we're doing in the park. So I just wanted to start briefly by touching on some of our sponsors. So this is something that we partner with Outdoor Amarillo, and each year we've seen this number increase. It's actually more than doubled since last year. Some of our sponsors, obviously Austin Hose was the main sponsor for the drone show. Budweiser, Amarillo National, Packasack, Park Hill, Excel Energy, Alpha Media, American Land and Title, Don Tip State Farm, and SKP Creative. We've actually seen those sponsorships grow. I think last year it was in the $26,000 range, and so that number has more than doubled. Again, we're working with Outdoor Amarillo, and we would encourage them to see that number continue to grow, as does the event. This year we were able to do 3 concerts. We actually started with 2 opening acts. So Cameron James Smith was the first one, followed by Pinata Protest out of San Antonio, and then followed by our headliner, Cooter Gras. I think it was a great mix of different music. I think it's something that we look forward to next year as well. Food trucks. This is something that we asked staff to go and get back in touch with food trucks just to get some feedback. I know last year when we did the event, we had 10 food trucks and the lines were extremely long. So this year we went from 10 to 26. And we had a really, really positive response from our food trucks. So 26 food trucks, they average about $4,000, so that's over $100,000 in sales just for the food trucks. Some of these comments actually came from some of the food trucks. So one of them said we sold over 700 drinks in one night, record day. One of the food trucks sold over 14 briskets and 400 pounds of ice. And another one said this is by far our biggest day. So we continue to see those partners do well, as does the event. Again, we talk about partnerships. We can't do this alone. I mean, this is a large undertaking. So I mentioned Outdoor Amarillo and their role in kind of the sponsorship and VIP areas. Alpha Media did an amazing job of helping promote the event, and then we had Amarillo Kings Cornhole that did the cornhole tournament. Again, I touched on our department and how we had almost every division in our department participate, but I think it's just as important to recognize all the other city departments that played a role in this. So everybody from emergency management, fire department, fire marshal, police department, transit, traffic, environmental health, solid waste, animal management, fleet, and also the library. That's a lot of city departments all playing a key role in this event, whether it's managing traffic, whether it's crowd control, whether it's participating in our kids zone. And the vendors we used this year were Fireworks by Western, Sky Elements, Express, Randall County Sheriff's Office, West Texas Golf Carts, Wrangler Pumping Equipment, Sharon McGregor Entertainment. And then we also had some volunteers that volunteered their time to help. So that was the CERT, Amazing Grace Church, Camille Suzanne, who did the national anthem, and Don Johnson, who did the flyover. This year we actually expanded our kids zone. We moved it from kind of south of the stage over to those athletic fields. Great response and a lot of really positive feedback. We've already heard people say they're coming back next year and bringing as many friends as they can. And this just gives you an idea of some of the activities that were in there. So everything from inflatables to spin art. The zoo was there. We had glow booth. We had some vehicles that people could spray paint with silly string. And so we had a really, really positive response in the kids zone, and that's an area that I think we continue to grow moving forward. The Cornhole Tournament, this is something that was a first-time event. The Amarillo Kings Cornhole Group facilitated that on our behalf. We had 32 teams that participated this year. That's something that we would like to continue to grow moving forward. Marketing. So just a quick snapshot of some of the efforts we did to try to market the event. So in Brick and Elm, we had a quarter-page ad. We did social media posts on June 4th, the 23rd, the 30th, July 2nd, and 5th. We always go on Second Cup and Media Lunch and Learn, Studio 4, and those are for not just for this event, but we do that throughout the year to promote programs and activities that we have going on as a department. And then because of our partnership with Alpha Media, they ran a lot of radio spots for us. So you can see on 710 and 97.5, they ran 45 spots. KGNC 97.9 ran 48, 102.9 ran 45, and the Eagle aired 44 spots. So again, a lot of great publicity. We also put out some billboards, some banners, some yard signs, anything we could do to try to promote the event. So here's some of the results. So in terms of sponsorship, there was 9 sponsors I previously touched on for about $59,000. Alpha Media stated that they had about 6,000 people listening during the event. Oops, let me go back. Transit had over 1,100 passenger trips on the shuttles. And again, that was running the shuttle from Amarillo High and also Randall. I think that's something that continues to get better. We've had really good feedback on those specific routes and just the overall experience. So again, as we move forward, we encourage more and more people to take those shuttles from those locations. You got the results from the beer garden. Outdoor Amarillo sold some of their merchandise. And then on social media, you can see the June 30th post had almost 72,000 views. July 5th, 41,000. And then over that time as a department, we gained 576 followers. So just some ideas for next year. Next year is the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. So I know that there's going to be kind of an increased focus on those celebrations across the country. One of the things we did this year was a carnival area, and I think what we would look at doing is expanding that, adding a larger adult Ferris wheel where people can go ride that Ferris wheel. Again, we talked about adding and expanding that kids zone. It was very well attended, and our goal would be to add some more community partners in there, more activities. One of the things is always trying to get people in and out of that space from an ADA standpoint, so looking at ways we can improve that ADA transportation. Again, we've got the 2 new parking lots, so that'll help in terms of capacity. And then the connector road that would come from the skate park out to Bell. We think that'll help with a lot of different things, not only from circulation. It also gives us some additional opportunities for running transit routes through the park with that while still keeping that park closed. So we think that will help with a lot of different elements in that park. Car show, possibly adding a car show, a bike parade, and I think also looking at expanding some athletic activities. Obviously, you've got the tennis center there, you've got the softball complex there, you've got the athletic fields on the north and south side. So just looking at ways we can slowly expand that. Again, we want to do it sustainably where we're not growing so fast, but we want to make sure it's a quality event. So slowly adding more and more activities each year. So a couple of the things that we're looking to council for a little bit of guidance on is what do we do next year? I know we've been Independence Day +1, so we've been focused on the 5th. Obviously, next year is the 250th anniversary, so do we stay on the 5th? Do we look at other dates? And so here's a chart that we put together that kind of highlights some of the pros and cons for all of the different dates. Some of the feedback we've heard in being on the Independence Day +1 is you're not doing it on the 4th, it needs to be on the 4th. I think the same argument could be said for the 3rd. Obviously, the 3rd and the 5th are beneficial for a couple of things. Number one, you don't have to pay overtime for staff, which is a significant cost. It's also a lot easier to try to find vendors and also fireworks shows, things like that. A lot of those obviously are on the 4th, and so if we do it on the 3rd or the 5th, then it gives us an opportunity to maybe get some additional drones or fireworks. So again, if you look at the 3rd, no overtime, less strain on first responders. And then the 3rd, generally you're going to have the day off on the 4th, so for people enjoying it. The challenge is then you can't really do events during the day because people are at work. On the 4th, obviously I think you could do a full day of activities. That's where we kind of talked about expanding that program and expanding that event. Citizens generally would expect an event on the 4th. Kind of the contrast is it's going to be a higher demand for shows, whether it's the drones or fireworks, and so you may end up paying a little bit higher cost for those. Obviously, Canyon is hosting theirs on Independence Day, and we would also be competing for some of those food vendors. There would be the overtime for staff, and then depending on activity in the community, first responders may be pulled to go address other issues throughout town. One of the things we do think, and we kind of highlighted at the bottom, is it is important to kind of identify a consistent date so people know how to plan for it. I think Independence Day +1 has been great. I think as we move forward, if it shifts to the middle of the week, it may be more of a challenge. One of the other things is if we pick a definitive date moving forward, then it also allows us to look at longer term deals, which I think would ultimately save us money and cost in the long run. So just some things to think about. I don't know that we need feedback right now, but as we move forward, those are some of the things that we would be looking for some direction on.
questions on this, council, or maybe some direction moving forward?
Hey, Michael, do you have any estimate on number of people that attended?
That's always the question. So so these are some aerials that we actually had APD pull from their drones. So you can kind of see it's a pretty significant number of people and vehicles. The challenge is that park is so big, try to count them is very difficult. We ran this image through ChatGPT to try to get us some numbers, and it ranged everything from 2,000 to 12,000 and everything in between. So accuracy, we're not 100% sure, but I do feel like anecdotally that there was more people than last year. This year was a lot hotter, so I think we saw people migrate more to the shade. So it's hard to count people under trees, but I think we saw a lot of people, especially earlier in the day, sitting under the trees when it was really hot outside. We are looking at some other technology. We actually just talked with Drew Brassfield here a second ago. They are looking at some software that may help with some of this estimation moving forward. But it's always challenging. We've looked at adding people counters at the entrance points to try to see if we can do that. We've looked at adding traffic counters to see how many vehicles. Surprisingly, there is a lot of people that show up and then leave. And so having a traffic counter coming and going would be helpful as well. But I would say anywhere from 2 to 12,000. But I think realistically probably 6 in this area, and then there's people all throughout the park. So I'm actually going to show you a couple other images. These were actually, again, images that APD was able to pull. So the one on the top left is Bell Street. So all along Bell Street, people were literally just pulling off onto the right-of-way and just parking their cars. The one on the top right is the Lowe's parking lot. Bottom left is the United area. And then the bottom right is also along Bell. So you can see the impact is far beyond the park. I mean, we've got a lot of people spread out in the park. Some of them want to go see the concert. Some of them just want to sit and watch fireworks. So whether it's on the south side of the park, whether it's across the street, we saw a significant number of people. So again, just counting the people in that main area may not do justice to what this event actually does. So those are just some high-level pictures of kind of what we saw of that space. So. And then briefly before if there's any discussion, I just wanted to touch on, this is the next event that we've got coming up. This is an event we're really excited about. We kind of started it last year with a hot air balloon glow. We had one hot air balloon, and we did our candy drop out of it. So it was basically our Halloween event where they had a hot air balloon, and we distributed candy to the kids from that hot air balloon. We've actually looked at this partner, and they're trying to expand their program as well. Again, this is very low cost to the city, so we're basically paying for things like the candy, the games, the porta potties, things like that. But this partnership with Pirates, what we're calling Pirates of the Park, they want to do a hot air balloon glow in the evening, but also they want to do a race in the morning. So we think, again, this is a great opportunity for us to partner with different individuals in the community to add new events. One of the things we want to do is try to do quarterly special events for the community, and I think this would be our fall one moving forward. So obviously we have the July 5th, and now we have the Pirates in the Park, and we think this could be another big event as it continues to grow. So just wanted to kind of give you a preview of what's next on the larger special event calendar. So be happy to answer any questions or get any information.
Council questions, and then we'll move into a little bit of direction.
Great job, again, you and your staff and everybody involved. It's a huge deal for the community when you all get together. So thank y'all.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Kashuba, you know, the entire team, which is big, right? Very professional group of true professionals, everything from logistics on traffic control, getting in and out. You sped up a few things because we were watching a lightning show roll in, and so maybe the fireworks didn't exactly match the music there towards the end, but it all looked really good. You got it done before any weather got us. So you guys adjust well. You work really well. You got a great team. I see Mr. Chamberlain out there from Outdoor Amarillo and all those guys, and so you've really come a long way in 2 years. I think anybody that looks at this would not say, oh yeah, y'all have only done this one time before. I mean, I think it's done very well. 250-year birthday for the country that we love and get to call home and get to enjoy with freedom. So I would love to see your budget come back. I know kind of what you spent this time around. I think council will continue to support it and look for ways to push monies over into that so that you guys can do the Ferris wheel and do other things that really kind of continue to draw that up. I like the 4th of July. I think when we first sat down in the mayor's office 3 years ago now, you know, the vision for this was, let's bring this back because we haven't done it for a long time. And the city kind of got away from doing it. We were just looking at the business community to do this. And so we needed to walk it in. It worked out really well because it was on a Friday, when the 4th on a Thursday to do the Independence Day +1. Then we've walked it into Saturday, but I think with that, we've kind of slow walked it far enough. And I think that it's important to put it on the 4th, even though it's a little competitive. I mean, that's the way it is, whether you're going to Lake Tanglewood or Canyon or you've got something else. So it's another option, and I think we would like to see it on the 4th. Council, could you guys speak to that at all on giving some direction for the day in particular?
I like the 4th. I think that's the easiest because it's constantly just going to be a moving target. Is it going to be a Monday, a Tuesday, a Wednesday? But the 4th is the 4th. And I think, especially next year, being the 250th, no question it needs to be on the 4th.
Anybody disagree with that, or?
No, I think that just because it's one of those holidays that's on that day, I think it's important that we celebrate it on that day.
Yeah, and I know that I appreciate the patience of people saying, well, it's not really unpatriotic. We see what you're doing, but the goal was to get to the 4th and really do it. Plus, on a Sunday, you know, you got to think about, like, what do we not get a return on in throwing a party for you, for ourselves, if you're not attending because you've got early Monday morning meetings and it's a Sunday evening and it's already July 5th. So we've done it well to work well with our other community partners, but I'd like to see it on the 4th. You can take that back to your committee and your team, see what you can do there. Okay. I think that competition is fun. I think earlier in the day, especially if you mix in some water, you can deal with the heat. If it's muddy water and there's maybe some strong police officers pulling some firefighters into a pit with a rope, you know, these are things that we, you know, maybe it's this gym versus that gym or whatever. Those are fun things that the community can get involved in. They're super low cost. All you got to do is dig a big hole, and then everybody likes seeing that. And so you guys have great ideas. You have really good partners. And we've been pleased to support you. You know, all we did was put out an idea and said, hey, tell us what you can do. And then you've exceeded the expectations every time. I think you exceeded the budget once, but, you know, not by much. And so let us get your budget where you need it to be coming into 2026 and let us support you on the 4th. Okay. What other direction do you need?
I think that's all we need. We'll be happy to bring that information back to council.
Yeah, and the only thing I would say now that you're not going to do this is, while it's fresh in everybody's mind, you maybe talk to the vendors, the fireworks and that type of stuff, see what kind of charge, what kind of difference it is versus not being on the 4th. So when budget comes in, or we talk to our partners like Outdoor Amarillo, we've got an idea of what we're looking at in increase, and even with staff on, you know, overtime, that type of deal. So we've got a better idea, especially, it's a good time since budget's coming up, you know.
And I think especially as we look forward, if this is an ongoing event, then I think we could start doing bids and trying to get that price down and lock it in over multi-years as opposed to just doing every year. So I think that's something we'll look at as well, is if we're going to stick with the 4th, then we can start bidding it and getting competitive bids moving forward and lock that in.
Yeah, well, let this council commit to the, you know, the next 2 years plus here, and you can rely on that leadership. We love the idea. I'm speaking as though we all love it. I hope we love the idea of your 4 events quarterly and doing like something like that, the hot air balloon thing in the fall, and how you tie that in. I think we really like that. And even driving down Western Street, you know, little Sam Houston Park over there, when you're doing movie night in the park and you've got all sorts of stuff going, that's that small town community feel, but in a really big town. And then thank you to our citizens for knowing how to be responsible and mature and handle yourselves. We took all sorts of criticism, like beer garden, really? That's how you're going to do this? And like, yeah, we are adults. And the kids play and everybody took care of each other. We had a few things. We ended up finding one young one that got lost, and so she was returned. So first responders out there do a great job, and your team does a great job. Thank you again.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right, item 9C. Ms. Laura Storrs, if you come back up and tell us what you've got on the check registry.
All right, Mayor and Council, I've asked Stephanie to pull up the new financial transparency page that we have developed. If she'll scroll down just a little bit, this is on the City of Amarillo's website. You'll notice right there at the top, it says page in progress. So this is certainly still a work in progress. We are continuing to develop it. Our team led by Kristen has done a phenomenal job going out and researching a lot of other cities' financial transparency pages, and has really researched what best practices is, and incorporated that and actually made it even a little nicer on our page. So I'm very pleased with the way this page has turned out, but it will continue to grow as we are posting information out there. So we do have a policy statement there at the top. If you just click on it, it expands and it tells you a little bit about why we're doing what we're doing. Then if you go down a little bit more, Stephanie, you'll see our City of Amarillo check registers, and there's another button you can expand there. And it talks about that these are City of Amarillo check registers. We also have information for these other entities. They're not included on this page, but we have included a link there to the public information request if someone would like to try to access that information as well. Down below that, we have started posting our current check registers from the current fiscal year in our new financial software. We are still working to finalize the first quarter of general ledgers. That will be coming out in this section very soon. And then we've got 3 years worth of archived check registers. These are coming out of our prior financial system, so they're going to look and feel a little bit different. Everything is posted out there in an Excel format, so they can be searched, sorted, those type of things as well. So yes, as Stephanie's doing, you just expand it as you go, and what we will do is we're going to keep a rolling 36 months out there. So as soon as we have a new month available to post out there, the oldest month will come off. And so this will be a constantly moving and evolving page, and that is to meet the State Comptroller's Transparency STAR program, which is what we're actively working towards with this page, and it requires 36 months of check registers. So those are all out there. Then we've got one last section here that just talks about some additional information related to our bank accounts. The city does have a large number of bank accounts. Most of these do not have hardly any transactions, if any, posting during the month. Some of them are related to grant programs, and so almost every piece of information that's going through those bank statements is confidential, and the feds require us to redact all of it. So those we are not actively posting out on this website. We're posting our main bank account, which has the vast majority of all of our transactions going through it. It has our checks. Then the general ledgers will have our wires, our deposits. It'll have the fund information. All of that will be on there. But we do have a spot down here that says if someone would like more information about one of these, they can click on the public information request link, and it will take them there, and they can request that information at that point. So wanted to open it up if you all had any questions or any feedback related to this page.
Ms. Storrs, or actually Ms. City Secretary, would you mind clicking on, is this active? Can we open one?
Yes,
say,
sure.
Due May 2025. And not that we want to go look details or anything like that, but you can kind of see the breakdown, check number, payee name, the amount. This is all reconciled, correct?
That's correct.
So we don't put out any information that's wrong, but if we put something out that changed for whatever reason, something came back on bank issue, something was mishandled, we would then go where and change it. And if we did change that, how would you want to, assuming you could have something in the future, how would you handle it? Just go in and change that, or would it be like
So if there was a check that, let's say, we voided 6 months from the date of issue, I do not anticipate going back and reissuing a check register on that. So we have that going on all the time. We issue checks to the state that have to be voided after a certain period of time. We will be posting these after it's reconciled, and then that will be a snapshot in time of that check register. So otherwise, we would be, essentially, we could be reproducing these on a weekly basis going back a whole number of months.
Okay. And then if you'll go to, say, go to 2024, just do December if you would, ma'am. Is this the overall difference in the look?
Yes, this is our old system, and that is, you'll see a significant difference in the amount of information that we can pull out of the old system as compared to the new system. And I have had, we've had some of our IT developers working on this. They have spent several hours over the past few weeks trying to develop customized reports. Our old system does not have near the ability for us to customize reports, and so we are posting the check registers that are produced by, it's basically the canned check register from that system, and we will not be providing anything else because we cannot get the reports to customize to match what the new system does.
Okay. So really, as you're looking down through that, you don't see department, you don't see where it went, why
That's
it
correct.
went somewhere. You just, you can track the payee name and the total.
That's correct, yes.
Okay, and then, Mrs. Coggins, if you can click out of that, do we have the wire transfers GL side, the general ledger side?
We do not have one posted yet. They were finalizing the one for March, and it should be posted out very soon.
And so that will be,
It will be a separate section on there that defines what is contained in that report. And it will be going, starting with March of 2025 and then going quarterly forward.
okay. So in the previous 3 years,
Yes.
what we're not posting right now, or what we're proposing, and council would like your feedback, you're not posting the wire transfers, the deposits, and the GL, the general ledger side of 24, 23, and 22 to this format. Now, moving forward, you are.
That's correct.
So you'll be able to see back from March going forward
That's correct.
in 25.
Yes.
And the reason being for that is redaction? Is that right?
No, our system cannot produce the report in the same, the old system cannot produce a report with that same information that the new one can.
Cannot produce the report with the same information, right? It's going to look
Yeah,
different.
like it wouldn't show which fund it went to and like what the purpose of it was. We don't have that flexibility in the old system. Now, if someone would like to request a general ledger, we can certainly do that. And then if they had certain transactions they wanted more information on, we could certainly provide that through a separate request.
Correct me if I don't understand. If we were looking for something specific, you could go in and find it.
Yes, yes.
So if
it
there
would
was a
take some work.
question about the ICE department and it should have been paid $1 million, but it wasn't, and did we get the money or not, you can go look at that in
That's correct.
22, 23.
Absolutely, yes.
But then if you grab all of that data and you put it out here, you're saying on some sort of a macro scale, it can't compute that and just put it on the page.
That's correct. We do not have the ability to make customized reports in the old system to go pull this information from this place, this information from that place, this information from this place, and bring it all in and make sure that it's bringing it in for the exact same transaction. I would not want to mistakenly put inaccurate information out there by trying to put a report together that we have not had success with.
What about gross totals? Could it do that?
What do you mean gross
Could we
totals?
just have, like total activity in 24, on that GL, so that if you're looking at both sides, you're looking at expenditures and then you're looking at revenues. Is that something that we can do?
I mean, we can certainly post a general ledger out there, but it's not going to have the information that the new general ledgers have.
What would it
It would have dollar amounts.
It would
yes.
have dollar amounts.
Of course, yes.
So you would be able to see all of the transactions as far as revenues and then the total, right? Or if you wanted to total it up.
It would be going through, we would be posting, if you want a bank account general ledger, it would show positive amounts going in that would be like deposits, and then negative amounts going out, which could be checks, wires, ACHs, all of that. Our general ledger doesn't have, in our old system, doesn't have a way on that report to show the distinction between which one is which from a general ledger standpoint. And so, but yeah, the dollar amounts would all be there, and all the dollar amounts are correct, but if you wanted more information on a specific transaction, we would have to go in and research that and pull all that information separately. And we certainly can do it, but it is not, I don't know that it's a good use of our team's time to go in and do that kind of work on every single transaction. We don't have enough manpower to do that.
And if you had a FOIA, if you had a request, you'd be able to go and do it, but then you'd have to do it specific for whatever year they asked or whatever months or whatnot. But you're saying if that information's available, if they requested it, we're just not wanting to put it up on the look back, right? Moving forward, we're good.
So it's more summarized information is what we can produce easily out of the system, but then to dig in and get the additional information, like what fund did it post to, what was that, the purpose of it, that takes extra steps in digging in on a transaction by transaction basis. And so we could do that if someone submitted an open records request. Now, if they asked for it for all of 2024, we would have to do an estimate on what amount of time that would take us to do, and it would probably be it could be a pretty hefty cost associated with it.
And if I can add something just from the Public Information Act perspective.
Yes, ma'am.
It does not require us to do research or to create things we don't have. And so if we had a request such as that, we would likely export what is there in the general ledger, provide that information, and then let the requester do with it what they would.
Okay. Council, concerns, questions, direction on kind of where we've made a lot of progress. I really appreciate you working on it. The page looks good from March moving forward. So would like to hear where council's at on the previous 3 years.
Well, I'd like to, just a clarifying question, Mr. Mayor. What, in terms of why we would need that at this point if we're moving forward with the last 6 months?
So the conversation was geared, in just a conversation between yourself and myself. I hate to put out, it's a can of worms you open up. Like, I hate to put out the 3 previous years in part or partially, right? Because it invites or borrows the trouble of what are you not showing me? So, like, to put the previous 3 years check registers up is good. But then the difficulty in putting the wire transfers and the revenues in kind of invites the additional question that we were avoiding. And so no good deed goes unpunished sometimes in all things public service. So here we are, we're trying to do it right. We're trying to put everything out. So we've got 3 years of half of our books posted. So if I can get some level of expectation on the other half to where it's available, then the few people that would have the time and the interest in going and looking at that would know where to look. So that was my concern. But then really, like, moving forward, I think when we see on the 25 from March forward, you will see everything. So I think we're going to be very satisfied from March moving forward. And I stated last time that we had a brief discussion on this, I almost would rather not put the 3 years previous check registers up on the website.
And that was our city manager had asked us to pursue the Transparency Star program, and that meets the requirement of that program. And so if we want to wait, 2.5 years to pursue that program, we could, with direction from our city manager, we could certainly go a different direction on that. So it's something that I think would provide really good information and show that we are in compliance with what the state comptroller's requirements are. But this meets the requirements. And so there's a few other things aside from bank accounts that we will add to this page to meet that program. But if we need to go a different direction, we will wait and take that direction.
Thank you.
Yes, question? No? On the program, what is that? Is that just a certificate that they send us once a year?
It's just it's another thing for our taxpayers to know that we are meeting a high level of transparency according to what the state comptroller's requirements are.
It's a green participation ribbon for a lot of things compared to what we're doing. You know, like the work is the work, and I love the work that you guys are doing from March forward. So question to council would be, do you want the 3 years previous check registers put up without the general ledger? Based on that's the most efficient use of the resources and staff's time? Yes, sir.
They're up, right?
Yes, sir.
The last 3 years, I would say we're good with it there. We discussed, like you said, the staff and the time that it would take to
Yes.
put all that. To me, that's crazy. I mean,
Okay.
I don't think that's a good use of resources, for them to search that. So, though this may open up a can of worms, like you said, I think it at least helps be transparent with we've got what we've got. Somebody can certainly request additional if they want to see it. But I think showing it is better than not showing it, in my opinion.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And I would agree with Councilman Tips on that even though it's not perfect, it fulfills our obligation under the state statute, and it allows us at least that level of transparency, but it also allows the public, if they have a question about certain things on it, that they have the ability then to contact and say, here's what we need.
Agreed. Councilman?
Yeah, I think it's too much of a burden to go back and try to correlate that data. I think where we are is good, and moving forward, we're in a good spot.
Okay. Mrs. Storrs, let me say, this exceeds my original expectation. So when you brought out the idea of, hey, we can go back and get 3 years of check registers and put them up, that was more than what I was asking for. And I even think with the public originally asking, and I like the breakdown. I think it's hopefully easy to follow. So we appreciate the presentation. Council, you have anything further for Mrs. Storrs? Please tell the department thank you for doing that, and also with Ms. Kristen doing the website. So thank you, ma'am.
Sure will.
All right, item 9C is done. We're going to keep pushing and get through discussion items. Councilman Simpson is bringing forward item 9D, so I'll hand that over and ask you to lead that.
I'll try to be quick with the most boring item on the agenda today, but it's something that I just wanted to bring up, which is, previously on the council, to me, when we put out an agenda on a Friday and people are seeing things for the first time that are then approved finally and given a final authorization on Tuesday, historically that's just something that I don't know, just sometimes I want to make sure that the public, and I think we want to make sure the public has a time to digest and learn about things. In the previous council, we put a rolling agenda in place where it has things that may be coming on from the city in the future. And while that helped, I still don't think it really helped making sure that we don't get too far out ahead of the public and we give people an opportunity to have input on items or become aware of items. A lot of people, not in this room, but most people, are not waiting for the agenda to come out on Friday to see what happens, and they may not find out about something until next week or the week after that. So what I wanted to look at is there kind of a look at where we are right now with approving ordinances and most of those which require 2 readings, and to make a proposal for council to consider that maybe we expand that a little bit so that if there are times where we want to make sure that we don't get too far ahead of the public, or it's not a one and done on something, particularly if it does affect the public, without necessarily bogging down business. So I'll go to the next slide real quick. Our charter right now says any ordinance that is passed has to have those 2 readings. In other words, it can't be passed on the first day that it comes before us. So any ordinance that we have, oftentimes planning and zoning, our budget is approved by ordinance, those type of things require two opportunities. Not all of them have to be on the discussion or action item. Obviously, sometimes we have many items that are on the action agenda first time and then they go to consent the second time, but they're on there 2 times there. The only thing that can't be is an emergency measure, and I'll kind of go over that in a second. If you'll go to the next slide, there is the state law kind of talks about a couple of things where single meeting reading is allowed for the governing body, and you'll see there's a list there, and really most of this has to revolve around investments or issuing debt. And as I understand, and maybe staff could add a little bit to this, we're locking in interest rates on those days, and so when you're looking at issuing debt and those types of things, it's better to go ahead and lock it in, and we've seen times where we've had advantages by having a good interest rate on that. So there's certain mechanics that when it comes to issuing debt or public security where, that would not be the best way to be able to do it. And in many times, those are issues that have already been discussed by council probably many times in meetings before. So there's a couple of exceptions that kind of work towards that where we are allowed to do that, and we do that because there are significant reasons and advantages for the city. The next slide talks about emergency measures, and those are things that are, we've had those before, emergency measures for flooding or whatever else, when the emergency situation comes up, that we're able to do that. The next page goes over some of the one reading examples of things that we do and historically do pass in one resolutions, and most of the in one time, and most of these revolve around resolutions. So, for example, we've passed 37 resolutions this year that, in most instances, appeared on the agenda on Friday and were given final approval the following Tuesday. Some of those things include grants, the city organizational charts, budgets, AEDC tiers, the AEDC bylaws, the municipal utility district protocols for outside counsel. You see some of these other things that are listed there. Other things that are done in one reading include Chapter 380 agreements, some tax abatements, purchase agreements, lease agreements, contracts, those types of things. So what the proposal has in there is a first version of it that's included in your packet, and is just to be able to look at, when we look at these resolutions, particularly because many of them do have things that impact the public, about instituting, like we do with ordinances, an additional reading before final approval is given. And so I kind of talked with staff about creating what that may look like. That's what's in there, but that's what the proposal that I wanted to bring today for council to consider and provide any input or poke holes in if this would be a problem or issue that could cause detriment, or is there enough advantage to this for the public and a good thing to do that we could look at doing this.
Hey, Les, I've got a question. It sounds like you did your homework for sure. On these resolutions, these 37 passed, in the first reading, I don't mean to see if you know this, but did these have discussion items before? I mean, were they discussed? Because I'm looking at like the MUDs, AEDC bylaws. If I remember right, we discussed that several times. Mm-hmm. So what you're proposing is we have the discussion however many times we get to a resolution. Mm-hmm. We'd still read the resolution once, and then it would come back the next meeting to go ahead and take action.
And that may have occurred, as it does with ordinances, but there's nothing in our ordinances that requires that. In other words, we could have had a discussion beforehand, but really there's nothing in our ordinance as it relates to the agenda and those things that require that. So I just like to strengthen a little bit, just to say, okay, yes, we may have had discussions, we may give it an approval, but you never know. Just like in planning and zoning or those types of things where we do have readings, it just gives people an extra couple of weeks. Maybe they heard about it, they have concerns or questions before we put the final I's and T's on that, saying this is approved.
Would it go to consent on the second?
I think yes. I mean, theoretically, it could be on consent on both times if for some reason we don't think it. I mean, we can always bring that out. But I'm just saying, looking at, and I don't think it, whatever resolution, it may not need to be on, an action item. It could be on the consent agenda. But I think theoretically it could approve there. I'm just saying, sometimes people may pick up on things or they may hear about things, and it may bring a cause of saying, wait a minute, maybe we need to go look at that just a little bit more.
Okay.
I don't know if staff has, because staff kind of helped put this together. I don't know if they have anything to add to it, but that's kind of where we are on this.
Staff, what's your recommendation?
I think the draft resolution it looks good, and so we worked with Councilor Simpson to put this together. It's very short and concise. Again, it does that very thing. It's meant to kind of give the people an opportunity, because resolutions do impact the citizens mostly, like ordinances do. So a lot of the resolutions are ones that set policy by the council. So maybe it is appropriate that the citizens have an opportunity to hear that before it's passed. And so it's a very simple resolution we have proposed. Again, it just mark it as first reading, second reading, whether it's in consent, non-consent. The city council has the ability to waive that requirement if we do ever have a situation where we do need to get it passed right away. Ahead of time, I can work on that to where I would propose that we would do pass immediately, but those would be on rare exceptions. So it gives you the flexibility to be able to approve quickly if you ever need to. But this thing here, look at the list there. We have very few of those things are immediate that couldn't get done over 4 weeks if we needed to. So we don't have any issues with this.
Is this a policy or a practice? Like, are we just going to do this in practice and, future council doesn't follow it, they choose, or is this a policy change? You're going to implement this into the policy of council?
This would be a resolution by the council, so it would stand until a future council rescinds that resolution. So we would follow it indefinitely.
I'm curious what that resolution, how that would read. Will it specifically name all of these things? And then
We've got a draft in your packet. And
Okay.
It's just 2 pages. And this is not an action item today, so we wanted to encourage discussion. And but there is a draft in your packet that you can look at. And we will take any edits you have from that.
anything else, council? Yes.
Yeah, so, in the little bit of research that, with the time we had on this, there aren't many cities in the state of Texas that do second readings of resolutions. So my question is, how will that affect what we're trying to achieve through the resolution? Because we're waiting another 2 weeks for a second reading.
Yeah. No, it's again, the discussion originally, and I can yield to Councilor Simpson on this too, the discussion originally started off was everything should be second read. Well, also and when he asked staff that, we identified there are some operational things that would slow us down quite a bit. We do want to try to move quickly on some contracts, awarding bids and so forth. So we worked our way past those, and we worked towards resolutions. Resolutions are policy settings. So again, there's always that potential that this could delay something. But City Council had the ability to say, we can't wait. Let's get it done now. So.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at open records, the premise that we start with is all records are open. Then you start to make exceptions because it's better to have that. So I did start from the premise, well, in order to make sure that we don't get too far ahead of the public or make sure the public does have an opportunity, because to me, in some instances, being public on Friday and making a decision on Tuesday, I just think, people are not sitting and dying by what we do, but oftentimes they may find out about it. So that's why I looked at, the potential of doing this without necessarily doing exactly what you're talking about, which is dragging things or causing things to delay or, to be harmed. And so that's where we just kind of, right now, any budgeted item over $50,000, we approve in the budget each year when we go through that, but that's approved for a second time when we get into that. So that's something that we kind of have a check and balance on. So I think it was just being able to balance out, making sure that we have, we're giving ample opportunity for the public to be aware of it before it's stamped and approved, right, without necessarily causing any deficiency in city services or operating the city.
Yeah, and I think when I first read it, I was kind of 50-50 on it. But I think we have to err on the side of the public and what they're aware of and the knowledge they gain beforehand. I think that should always be kind of a driving force, and how transparent we really are on things. So I think that this is a good step towards that.
I mean, and as Grayson said, I mean, if we can always take an item off and say, no, there's an emergency situation where it doesn't need, a second reading. And again, but I just would, bring this up, and obviously you can look at the resolution that's been drafted, and we can take a look at it, make any suggestions, and, kind of see what you guys think as far as moving ahead on this or not.
Okay. Anything further? Okay. Councilman Simpson, we appreciate the presentation. We just direct staff to bring it back on the next meeting. We'll let council decide. Okay, item 9E, AEDC update from our interim, Mr. Doug Nelson. Thank you for being here, Doug.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council. I have a short report for y'all, and then I'm sure we're going to have some questions.
Real good.
My report, I'm going to cover a couple of things: business development, some project updates, some operational updates. But I'm going to start with business development and business retention expansion. We do have, over the past quarter, 11 inquiries that we have responded to with information, an additional 8 potential projects that we are actively working, 4 direct leads and 4 governor office leads. This quarter, we have continued to execute our plan of work, attending and participating in 3 industry trade shows and 3 site selector events. We do continue to see an increase in inquiries and leads. I believe we've turned the corner and continue to expect our deal flow to keep improving. So everything's very positive in that regard. We're seeing additional deal flow just almost week to week. So things are definitely improving. Project updates. You may remember Sage Oil Vac. We did a location incentive agreement with them. They're building a $12 million, it's going to be $12 million plus dollar manufacturing facility, up to 60 jobs. It's in our South Georgia Business Park, and they have broken ground and are doing dirt work currently. So that project is underway. Coast Packing Company, you remember approving that deal. That's a $30 million manufacturing facility. They're in our Centerport Business Park, and they're going to create up to 60 jobs. They've been under construction for about 3 months now. They're pouring slabs. They're making some real progress. Finally, Austin Hose. It was an expansion project. Also, a company that was here. They have finished phase 2 of their facility in way before they were scheduled to finish phase 2. It's a little over $20 million distribution and manufacturing facility. It is in our South Georgia Business Park, and they will create up to 65 jobs. So those are the projects that are under construction right now. We expect to also transact with a cold storage facility that y'all approved a while back. We expect that land transaction to occur within the next 30 days, and that'll be exciting, 100,000 square foot in Centerport Business Park. So just a little update. I also wanted to let y'all know about a couple of recognitions that our community has had recently. Amarillo was ranked as the #1 mid-sized metro area expected to sustain the most economic growth in 2025. The source of that was the Keenan Institute of Private Enterprise. It's a fascinating report, to be honest. So you can go in and you can compare cities and look at a community's gross domestic product. And because our community has focused on primary jobs, primary job creation, primary employers, a lot of manufacturing, that is why we rank so high in gross domestic product, is because of the focus that we've placed on those primary employers. So that's a nice feather in our cap as a community. The second one is business facilities, their 2025 annual rankings report. The category was most affordable cost of living over 100,000 population, and Amarillo ranked #2 as most affordable. This is up from #7 in last year's report. So our cost of living continues to be very affordable, which is attractive to industry. So the final thing I want to cover with y'all, operationally, we're in good shape from an operations standpoint. I know there's going to be some discussion today about adding a board member to our board. We currently sit at 4 out of 5, so we look forward to that. In our August board meeting, if a new board member is placed before our August board meeting, in our August board meeting, we will elect officers. We will also be discussing the issuance of the RFP for finding a search firm for our next executive. The board will also discuss the process for the recruitment of this new person. And so that can include and can look a multitude of ways. But our board will be discussing how they plan to proceed along those lines. We'll also be undertaking budget discussions. As you're well aware, budget season is upon us, and we'll be looking hard at that. That's really all I have today as far as a quarterly update. I'm certainly happy to answer any questions.
Real good questions, Council. Yes, sir.
A couple of questions, because I want to kind of follow up on some information that had been given before council before. But when we're evaluating whether to support an economic development project, is the cost per job metric, that is dividing the incentive by the amount of jobs created, is that the only factor that we consider, or are there other things that we consider? And if so, what other things do we consider other than just that metric?
Sure. The cost per job, of course, is an easy metric to come up with. But certainly all of the projects we do impact our community in a multitude of ways. So I think that'd be a narrowly focused way of looking at it. Certainly we want to look at the full picture. And so we want to look at the capital investment. We want to look at whether or not that company is requesting a tax abatement. We want to look at their wage level. That impacts the local spend in our community. We really want to look at what it does for other taxing jurisdictions here locally. I think you really want to look at the full picture when you're deciding upon whether or not to support a particular project.
And then that's generally what we do. I mean, we're just looking at all the factors that may come into play. I mean, for example, everybody knows there's a project that could come for Bell, but this may mean there may be other companies that could come here tangent with that. I mean, there's lots of opportunities other than just what that creates at Bell. It's the opportunity to spin off other economic development as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And so in the first Bell facility that we supported as a community, that particular aircraft was a very slow rate of production type aircraft. So they're building, most years maybe 25 of those. With this new MV-75, what we're looking at in the future, we're talking about triple that amount per year or more. So because of the rate of production, their suppliers, their partners will hopefully need lots of space in our community. And so there's an opportunity with that particular project to bring partners of Bell's to our community for them to set up shops and support the construction of those MV-75s.
Another question I want to ask, there's been some public comments suggesting that sometimes and I'm just repeating what I hear, we're giving away the farm, we're being too business friendly, we're not negotiating hard enough. What are your thoughts, and what do we need to do to be competitive?
Sure. I would disagree with that sentiment that we're giving away the farm. Certainly, the previous council, just not too terribly long ago, revised our incentive policies. We actually pulled back the standard for which a company that's looking at our community, they're looking at these criteria and looking at what they might achieve as far as incentives go. And our standard answer for that has been pulled back. So we don't give away the farm, so to speak. It's a much less or much reduced incentive than what we could do. Now, obviously, these incentive policies that are in place have the opportunity for council to go over and above what the policy is. There may be some extraordinary benefit for a particular company to come to our community, and y'all might decide as a body to give them more than what the guidelines prescribe. But certainly, we are giving companies good information up front. It is a public document. They have an idea of what to expect. And all of our taxing jurisdiction partners, besides the city of Amarillo, also know what to expect. So the whole point of having those guidelines and criteria is that our community as a whole, across all of the taxing jurisdictions, could move forward together and understand what those incentives will look like for companies.
And then when you look at our competitors, I mean, how would you rank our incentives versus those that we're competing against?
Sure, I would say we're very competitive on a cost per job. We're less competitive on our tax abatement. Most, in some cases, less competitive. In some cases, we're more competitive. So there are communities out there where the county in which that community is located, the county is against tax abatements altogether. And so that is a difficult hill for that community to climb because they don't have all their partners together moving forward. Our community is not like that. We're pretty much all on the same page as far as these guidelines go. But our cost per job incentive, I would say, is very competitive. We're certainly not the highest in the state, but we're very competitive.
And then, you know, when you and I kind of had a conversation, you know, I kind of asked you, what is one of the most important things when it comes to economic development? And I think your response was kind of consistency and stability is something to be effective economic development. So my question is kind of explain a little bit more about that, and more specifically, how can a council, AEDC board, our staffs, what can we do to kind of promote that consistency and stability?
Sure. Well, unfortunately, our organization has had some instability over the past year or so. And so we're looking forward absolutely to the future where we feel we've got a much better platform by which to promote our community. But yes, consistency and stability are very important. The companies that are looking at our community, in some cases to relocate, in some cases to expand to our community, they are, whether they're doing it themselves or they've hired a site selector, they are paying attention to what our community does, how our community looks in the press, how we interact with each other, how we interact with the company itself. And so the fact that we have, like I said, these guidelines and criteria, that makes our incentives very consistent across the board, unless there's some kind of extraordinary item. And then from a press standpoint, it is certainly stability sells. Companies do not like uncertainty or inconsistencies. Those things are not attractive as a community when you're trying to attract outside business. So those that's what I meant when I said that consistent and stable environment.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Yes, sir.
I've got a question. When we spoke about a month ago, I asked you specifically if the deal flow was less than normal. And I believe you said it was, but now I'm hearing today that it is very strong and very robust. Can you tell me the deficiency or where I miscommunicated that?
Yeah, let me talk to you about that, because I think you may have misinterpreted one of the things I said. But the reality is that we've gone through a period of time where our deal flow was much less.
And would that be the instability
It would
as
be.
an indicator of that?
Yeah, in my opinion.
Right.
Now I can't judge that totally. Global economics can impact that. Just what's happening in the state can impact that. But from our perspective, certainly that did impact our deal flow. And I would say that December, January, March, it was pretty slow.
And can you clarify slow? I mean, like none or just a
no,
little?
No, I wouldn't say none. I would say slow. Where we're at today, when we're working, in the past quarter, we've responded to 11. We've got 8 active. I mean, we'll call that 20 projects we're working. Mm-hmm. At the height of my 15 years with the organization, we would have been more like 30 or 40 in a quarter. So we've climbed back up to about half of what I think is the capacity for our organization. Because when we were fielding that many inquiries, we were stretched to the limit. It was all we could do to keep in front of that many inquiries. So I would say we've climbed back to about half, and I think it's still improving. Now, there's no question, we went through a slow period.
How many EDCs are we competing against just in Texas alone?
Ooh, that's a good question. 400 and something. About half of them are Bs and about half of them are As.
So without a stable, robust EDC, we're really going to be challenged to bring these businesses in. Is that correct?
Yes, I would say that is correct. We want to be as productive as possible, and we're doing our darndest to make that happen right now.
Thank you for that. Thank you for making it happen.
You're welcome.
Council questions?
No, it's just good to hear, Doug, that the well's not dry. When I think, like you said, the stability is helping. I think as we appoint, this next member, and y'all can get, your appointments done. I mean, it's just good to hear, because we hear so much out in the community and nobody really knows except for you guys. Right. So it's really good to hear that it's not dry, and again, like you said, there's some other impacts that could affect the deals that are being done, whether it's global economics or whatever. So I appreciate you taking the time to bring that to us.
Yes, sir.
Councilman?
Yeah. So what I'm hearing you say is it's important, our next moves, because we need to bring stability to the AEDC.
Yes, sir. I think we're there. Frankly, I think whoever gets appointed at this next appointment, certainly it's always important. It's leading an organization, one of 5 that leads. And so they're giving us direction as to what our target industries are, what kind of events they would like to see us. We're carrying the Amarillo, Texas brand across the United States. And we want the support of our board. We want the support of our city council for us to go do that robustly, I think is a good word. And so, yeah, all these appointments are important, but I think we've turned the corner, frankly, and things are looking up.
All right, now I'm gonna ask the novice question. And so bear with me. It's a follow-up to what you asked. What does Amarillo look like without an AEDC?
Ooh. I am probably not qualified to answer that, but Perryman did a report probably 12 years ago, and he said about 48% of the jobs in our community were somehow tied to a project that the organization and the city of Amarillo had done. So without the organization, I think we're looking at a very different community.
Thank you.
Good comments. Mr. Nelson, let me say, consistency and stability, I think, is what you've brought. And so, I appreciate your leadership over there. We know it was a washing machine of turmoil and all sorts of things that, none of us wanted to walk through either. But I think because of the professionalism that you and your staff stepped up to, your willingness to work with previous council, as well as new board members, I think that's what we're seeing is good leadership that works for the overall betterment of the community. And then, the good thing is, when we have a direct question like this, what would Amarillo look like without our EDC? We could argue whether it's 20% or 48% or whatever the derivative is that contributes to these new jobs that we're attracting. And Amarillo looks really good. So we've put a lot of good seed in the ground in this agrarian society over the last 2 years that we're going to see come up this year and harvest, for the next several. But let me just tell you what Amarillo would look like without the EDC. It would look like taxes being collected and paid for over a decade to pay promises that we're going to keep while you're closing down the EDC. So that's something that's really important for us to remember. We voted this in. We made a commitment to this. We see the benefit from it. We want to run it well. We want to be strategic. We want to have a business mindset and a good plan. We want good leadership. We need a good director. We need a strong board. But then we need the EDC. And you saw previous council take it from, let's say if you were the guy who said giving away the farm, well, what did that look like? Well, that was 10 years of 100% tax abatement, right? If you're that guy, that was your criticism. Well, what are we doing now? We're doing a descending chart. So we're 90, 80, 70. So we see our community start reaping the benefits of those good entities that are coming in, and we're still attracting those high quality, top producing manufacturing companies and ventures and business. Now, one of our absolute best stakeholders that we love everything that they represent and what we get to do with them is Bell Helicopter. And they have a really good contract in front of them. And I think we could project to 2050 for a solid output of everything that they can produce. And we want them to know the consistency and the stability is in companies like Bell Helicopter. That's who we want to partner with. That's who we want to drive towards. The incentives that we have proposed here today for the coatings company and more aerospace and those types of jobs, those are the types of companies that we're going to promote. This council is supportive because we see good leadership in you, and we appreciate that. And we know you're not just the interim director. You're core to that team, and you'll continue to keep that team even when you hire a new director and you onboard him or her. So it is really important to realize we've made commitments that you're just going to pay debt for 10 years because you want to have a conversation about we don't want this anymore. That's illogical. Now, maybe you're like me and you saw that the EDC needed to be tweaked a little bit, like any business, and I think that's good. And we always need to be critical of our performance and critical of what can we do better? How do we get better at this job? There's nothing wrong with that. The politics that's at play in all of that is where the washing machine starts turning things around, right? And so don't get hung up in that. The sun is out. Man, we're growing. Things are coming up. Harvest is good. Amarillo is set up for success after success moving forward. So we thank you for your hard work. We thank you for the appointment. And then thank you for standing there and letting me pat you on the back a little bit, but I wouldn't say it if I didn't mean it. And you've seen us sit on this side of the dais and be very critical. And so I think you know we mean what we say. So thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor,
Appreciate you being
can I
here.
add one thing to that? You know, the thing that resonated with me that you said was about the uncertainty. And to me, whether you're looking at investing in the stock market or community, uncertainty is the enemy of investment. People don't want to invest in that. So that kind of really resonated with me. What my hope is that, you know, and you kind of mentioned, you know, we've had a little bit of waters going up and down for the last couple of months. And, you know, that's there, that's done. We're moving forward. But my hope is that this council and future councils will approach this work that we have to do with steady hands, clear priorities, and a long-term perspective. We owe it to the people we serve and to those considering investing in our city to keep the chaos to a minimum and the confidence and credibility high, and I know that's the direction that we're going to head now. So I appreciate your remarks today, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nelson. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that accomplishes 9E. I'm going to hold us just a little bit further here before we take a recess. We're going to move into 9F. We're looking at filling a vacancy here on the EDC. I'll start the conversation by being very, very complimentary and doing a recap to Mr. Fairley. And so Alex Fairley is a contributor to several campaigns. I'm not going to tell you he's not political. I am going to tell you he's a hard worker and that, you know, he's got a lot of fruit on that tree. You can love him or hate him, but you can't deny the good that he does for the community. And I don't see too many other people out there doing the things that I've seen him do. And anecdotally, personally, I can attest to that. Now, saying that, I appreciate that he took my phone call. He was willing to step up. Now, I had to call him twice. He actually called me and said no after we had our meeting. And then when I talked him through it, he said, okay, I can do it, but just for a short time. But he stepped up when we had a mass exodus off of the EDC board. And it's exactly what we're talking about, instability and all the things that we don't have to go back and rehash. But what we are saying here is he is stepping down, and I appreciate him. I appreciate his time. I appreciate his leadership. He had a certain skill set and will be valuable to this community off of the EDC board. There are phone calls that he can make that, quite frankly, some of us can't make. And so we need him. We don't necessarily need him in that role, but we need him to be him, and then we need to move forward. So Councilman Simpson, I love that you just set the standard and you set it very high. And so I want to compliment Mr. Fairley, as I do anyone who's willing to get out here and do the hard work in public and let everybody throw rocks at you. So I would like to caution the people that we're fixing to nominate. You are some of those people that are going to get out here and do the hard work, and some people are going to throw rocks at you, right? And it's not going to be fair, and some of it won't even be honest or genuine. But it is the work that we need to do, and then you're in a controversial position. The board members that we currently have over there, EDCs are controversial. They're hot topics in every community. It's the nature of EDCs. Anytime you're taking somebody's sales tax money or somebody's property tax money, and you are trying to use those as an incentive to increase an economic impact, you are setting yourself up for criticism somewhere. Nobody bats 1,000. We want to hit 350, 400, and man, we're doing it. And we need another guy that can put his name, or another lady that can put her name on the roster. So the reason for having this discussion here is we need to see where council is, and I'd like to move this forward in 2 weeks. I'd love to have a discussion today, come up with some good names of people that we think are qualified and beneficial. You have a list before you of people that are still willing to serve. And then 2 weeks from now, I'd love to be able to put it back on the agenda to do a nomination, a second, and then we'll fill that position. It goes right in line with Mr. Nelson's timeline. He needs that person there sooner rather than later so that he can get those people onboarded, get everybody to a place to where they know what they want in a director, and they can communicate as one body with some unanimity to a search firm. These are our expectations, and this is how much time you have to deliver. that's a good business plan. That's being strategic, and it starts with us here. So we need good leadership up here. And I would open the conversation up for any council member that would like to, perhaps give 2, 3, 4 names of people that you're leaning towards or the type of person that you think needs to fulfill that role. I will just leave it in the place where I left it last time. The banking position, the lender position, the financial position, in my estimation, is one that probably needs to be considered. I think it's really good to have a person that does that for a living. They know how to read financials. They know how to look at businesses and gauge what is the risk ratio, how healthy is this entity, what's the greatest likelihood for their success here. So that is a type of person that I would like to look toward and look for. The other type of person that I'd like to look toward is I like contractors. Man, I happen to be one. We're some of the hardest-nosed deal makers, and we dig through things. Like, we sign the front of checks, not the back of checks. We understand how hard it is to make things work when you don't have what you need. You're a constant problem solver. And so that would be another one. If we don't want that typical banker who loves the box, then I'd love to have that guy who understands how to make something work outside of the box. I'll leave it there and ask any council member to go ahead and jump in.
Mayor, real quick before you start that, just FYI, this position is up in December, so this would be a person that potentially could be a short timer unless you were to renew them at that point. So this person would be filling Alex Fraley's unexpired term, which is up in December.
I appreciate that. I would say, though, with caution, I would hate to see council nominate somebody and ask them to go and serve in this capacity with all of the learning and the learning curve and the onboarding, with anything less than our confidence of if we appoint you and we vote for you, we should be willing to stand behind you come December. And I would speak the same way to our existing board members. You need consistency, you need stability, then you need to have the confidence of knowing that you can go out there and make those decisions and lead and be supported. So I appreciate you bringing that up, and I would hope that we can look at this as a placement here today, knowing where we're going to be in December.
Mayor, can I mention one other logistical thing is I think this is one of the 4 times a year where our next meeting is 3 weeks away, not 2 weeks away. So I don't know whether that might, and I don't know when the next EDC meeting will be or when it's planned, but I don't know if that might, so it's going to be 3 weeks before I think we meet back on council again. But we are, of course, meeting to have some budget discussion. So, I just, in the terms of logistics, and as Doug said, whenever their meeting is, hopefully having that position filled, I don't know whether that timetable may come into play.
So I do know that is a logistic, and I am trying to move us along. I will tell you, I expected the budget workshop to be several days on my calendar, and so right now we're trying to approach that with a little shorter time frame with a follow-up meeting, and so it may allow for a Friday opportunity if we wanted to call a special session. I think we definitely could look at that. I will leave that in the hands of council. If you guys have some people that you're comfortable with and you want to get this done, then we could definitely put it up there on the 8th, I believe.
Friday the 8th.
Friday the 8th.
I don't know if Doug is still here. When is the AEDC's August meeting? With that?
We're currently scheduled for the same day as council.
The 12th.
On the 12th.
12th.
Yes, sir.
So I hear your caution, and I think it's good leadership in looking ahead. If we know where we're going on the 12th, can we get there on the 8th? We're going to be together anyway on the 6th and the 7th. You know how budget workshop goes. You can't put it at the end of a day. You're wiped out, you're brain dead, and so we would need to look at it on a Friday, do it first. And then if it would also allow, if follow-ups, if we can get us all together, then I want to maximize the rest of that morning. And I'd love to hit a few of the items. I saw a budget workshop going around 4 days. I think it's aggressive to do it in 2, but I know it's been done in 2.5, 3. And so that 8th Friday may be a really good opportunity. Jump in, anybody that would like to put a name or two out of who you might be leaning towards. And if you don't feel comfortable with that, tell me what you see down there that you need in a skill set and what type of person you're looking for.
I would tell you one thing I think we might want to consider is whether there's somebody that has perhaps served on the EDC before, that has some experience and knowledge and institutional knowledge that might be willing to step up again. It would be advantageous because I think, we have a board that is getting some experience, but, because of the way things were replaced, we've lost some institutional knowledge, background, some history that people might not know. It might be also advantageous to, if we had a previous board member who'd been involved in a search before for the EDC, may be able to provide some background perspective. So obviously, I don't think it should be anybody that's been within the last year, 2, 3, maybe 5, for obvious reasons. But I think there are people that have served our community before in that role, and I think that may be one factor that I would want to consider in looking at, who we might place, to be able to have someone who's been there, done that before, and can bring some of that history and knowledge and experience to the table.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that insight. Councilman Tips.
Oh, I was just going to say, I mean, not everybody on here, but I would suggest, just like you said with a contractor, somebody that's a stakeholder in the city, somebody that has run a business, that understands the businesses. I think that's plugged in to the Amarillo economy. I think that's important on the EDC. I mean, I think that there's a skill set definitely that needs to be brought there. We've got 4 on there, but to look at those 4 and maybe, it's just like up here, who would add, complement what's already there, in my opinion.
Councilman Reed.
I think the 3 things that I'm really looking at, and I think you guys hit on all 3 of them. One is a willingness to serve. Putting somebody on there that hasn't shown that interest or is willing to fill one of those roles, I think, is somewhere we shouldn't go. But also, I kind of agree with what has been said here as far as that past experience, because we don't know if that person's just going to serve till December, because they may pull themselves out after that. And having somebody that knows what's going on and not having that large learning curve. I'm not saying that that's the ultimate criteria, but then also the background, the professional background, and where we might want to fall with that. So those are the 3 things that I'm looking at.
Councilman Prescott.
I think I would echo the sentiment. I think large business, that's what we're trying to attract, is large business. We need business owners that have a stake in the community, that know what Amarillo is about. And I do like the institutional knowledge. Unfortunately, we had a huge gap with the turmoil that we had early, last year when everybody left. And filling that void would help us, especially if they were part of search committee.
Would we like to leave it at that point? Would we like to discuss a few options and names? So there's benefits on both sides. If we put a name out here today, it gives us something to chew on as other council members. So if you have somebody that has previous experience, institutional knowledge, and you know where you're going, it could be better for the rest of us to at least, help to come prepared. However, it also can be advantageous to our community. Not to list names, we have a list of people that are willing to serve, and you may know who you think is a good fit. I would ask that you wouldn't bring anybody that you haven't already talked to and you don't know their full level of commitment to be 100%. So in moving it forward, does anybody have any names they'd like to offer, or are we good knowing kind of the directional role we're trying to fill? Councilman.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that we've never really done before, is to put the names out there. I mean, I could see there may be some benefit or some drawbacks to that. So I don't know. I guess it just depends on what, I mean, if we can wait till we get to the point where we're going to make the decision and do the nominations at that point. So.
Okay, Councilman.
Aren't we about transparency?
It tends to work very well when we just keep it all out there. Where you get hung up is where you're a little bit out there and then a little bit not. And so I like being all the way out there, the lights all the way on. It's pretty good. I think if we were going to worry about offending people, we probably should have started like 4 years ago. So
I think in terms of transparency, I think that the two individuals that I've heard that would be interested are Will Miller and Brian Bruckner.
Brian
Bruckner.
Bruckner. Okay. Those are good.
Brian Bruckner and Will Miller.
Okay.
Have you spoken to Brian? I mean, he's not on the list.
I've spoken to Brian.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that was the person I was thinking about. I mean, Brian is president of Brucker Trucking, which is which has been a business here since 1932. They've grown to be in 9 states, and they have 1,600 employees at this point. But it's a family business with Brian and his brother Chris running. They're also the largest Mack truck dealership in the U.S., so I think he's got some significant chops and background. But also, Brian served 2 terms. I think he came off in 19, so from about 2013 to 2019 he served, and he has served on 2 search committees before. And so that's a name that I've checked with, and he said he would be willing to step up if called.
Okay. Yes, sir.
I personally know both of those gentlemen, and they're outstanding businessmen and outstanding community leaders, and they bleed Amarillo.
Well, and I'll say on Will Miller and Mr. Bruckner, both have a heart for the community. So like when you see the way that they manage life, family, they give, and they're constantly serving their community. Will Miller tends to be kind of Switzerland. Like he knows how to run a bank and run a financial institution and deal with all things business. And I love the fact that, he lives in Canyon, and we don't necessarily have just the one viewpoint that we've always had. So I'm a fan of Mr. Miller. Man, I'm a fan of Mr. Alarcon, actually. I've seen that guy dig in and just be somebody with lots of energy and then a real ground level. Not the same 30,000-foot view that I'd be looking for with a Will Miller. More of the guy who hands-on is digging into deal by deal. I do. Bruckner Truck Sales is a phenomenal company, and I think with a large company like that, that's multi-state and so big, and then they bring a lot to the table. And so, he would be an asset that would help us to kind of replace where we've been with some of that knowledge. Councilman?
Yeah, I don't disagree with any of those. I do like Jay Brent as well. I mean, again, business owner, know him personally, good negotiator, understands agriculture, understands small business, and again, a big believer in Amarillo. So.
And he was in like grain and wheat for a long time, right? Yeah, so he has quite a bit. Councilman Reed, you got anything you want to offer?
Not at this point.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to add one final point.
Yes, sir.
When we look at someone that has multi-state experience, they probably have dealt with other EDCs and what the landscape looks like in incentives and how that works, and that would be, I think, a benefit to us.
Yeah, and I think your case is probably pretty strong, and I think if we were to continue, you would probably build it even stronger in some of the expertise that may be there. And then I'm not pushing back on the experience at all. I love the fact that we have some experience with Mr. Nelson and his team. But then, we've got some really strong board members that have a lot of good business experience, but not necessarily a lot of economic development experience and somewhat of how the rules of the game and how everything is competitive across the state. So I think we're doing a service here by putting these names out here and discussing them. There's a lot of good names on this list that, we're not discussing, but were heavily considered. There's a couple other contractors on there that I feel very strongly about as well, and I'd love to have them on the team. But this is a position that we need to get placed, and I feel like this is everything that I needed out of the discussion. I'm going to ask City Manager, do you feel comfortable at this point with what you would be looking at if we were to look at a special session and move into that part of the conversation?
Yes, and so I've been talking with Ms. Storrs. We were considering possibly another half day for budget anyways on that Friday. So this can work well. We can have that as part of that day as well.
So, council, I feel like we've had as good and productive a discussion as we can. I don't think any of us are going any direction that we don't want to go or that we don't feel like we shouldn't move together. Are y'all good with putting a special session on that Friday? I'd call it first thing in the morning. We'd probably try to do 8:30. Get that one done and reserve the rest of the time for staff.
Yeah. One other thing, if I'm not mistaken, we'll have, of course, if we're appointing one vacancy now, but I think at the end, that term will expire. I do think, obviously, we probably need to get somebody who's willing to step up for the second term, or, filling out the first term. But also, we have another position open at that point as well, so that may be something we are at a crossroads. And I think all these names that were brought up are excellent choices, and so we've got could have potentially another role to fill in a couple of months as well.
One good thing that I have seen, and then Councilman, I'll let you jump back in. Out of the 4 that remain over there, really good chemistry, good questions, good discussion, and moving the ball forward every time. And every one of them are showing up with the willingness of man, I'm here to make this better. What can I do to help? And I love that. And so adding this 5th person and kind of seeing where that dynamic is will help us greatly while we get this director hired and get the search firm out there. Councilman Prescott, you had one final comment? Oh, okay. Any other comments on this one before we take a quick recess? Good discussion. Thank you, guys. I appreciate that. That closes item 9F. Item 9G is a request for future agenda items. Do we have any that we need to put on next agenda on the 12th?
Yeah, Mayor, I've got one. I'd like to put a discussion item on the Civic Center improvements.
Civic Center improvements on the 12th, no problem. We should be ready for that one by then. Any others?
Governance and ends, will it come back?
It will. So we actually were ready for that. I pushed it just because we had a full schedule, so I pushed it to the next one. So governance and ends discussion, and then there were a couple of other ones that'll be ready by then that'll stay in the fold.
I would like to also add a possible wastewater treatment plant update.
Okay.
From data that we had from the trip to Austin, and just a revision on pricing.
I think that would be good. I'm right there with you. If we'll leave that in the hands of staff. Staff, if you're not going to be ready to do a full presentation by then we'll give you more time, but it is going to be a good topic right after budget.
Yeah, we'd actually discussed doing that at the second meeting in August. Give us a little time to get prepared for that, but we can bring you something if that works.
I believe so. Are you good with August still? Okay. Great. At this time, we're going to go ahead and take a 10-minute recess. We'll be right back in here to do all of our non-consent. Thank you, guys. Okay, we are going to go ahead and call ourselves back to order here, move into our non-consent agenda. One thing I will say, I know it's easy for me just because I'm talking this direction. And so these microphones are pretty directional. So as I turn and speak this way, it doesn't pick it up. So like for my council members, if you would, like if you're going this way, move your face kind of behind the microphone as you work it around. So just for everybody that's online and everybody that's here. Item 10A, public hearing and consideration, one of our favorite presenters, Mr. Brady Kendrick.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. This first item is a public hearing and consideration of ordinance number 8202. This is to consider the rezoning of a 3.39 acre tract of land. This is a portion of Tract 2, West Cliff Park Unit 18, located in Potter County, Texas, in the vicinity of Suncrest Way and Rosinda Lane. They are requesting the rezone from Plan Development District 55 BCG to Plan Development District 55 AA to develop the property with 20 single-family detached homes that are going to be zero lot line style. And the applicant is OJD Engineering LLC for Rocking Bee Investments LLC. And on the screen right there is the property located on the eastern portion of the West Cliff subdivision. And the reason for the request is while this plan development does allow for single-family development, they're requesting slightly different standards than allowed for by the base plan development. They are requesting a 5-foot reduction in the lot width from 50 to 45 feet and a 100 square foot reduction to the minimum lot area. And they are requesting a lot area of 4,900 square feet. Regarding City Plan 2045 and conformance, this request would conform with City Plan and the identified place type for this development of neighborhood low. The densities are in line with what is called for. And as noted, these are going to be zero lot line homes, meaning that the homes are set off to one side of the lot and they are going to be detached, much like what is seen in Plan Development 55Z, which is pictured on the right there. That was developed at the south end of this street. That is 1 block south of the applicant's property there in the red box. The Planning and Zoning Commission found that this development was in character with existing development and zoning patterns in this area and believe that this would be a good fit. And the reason the applicant is requesting it is that these slightly reduced lot standards is the topography is a little challenging in this part of West Cliff, and they needed that slightly higher density to make the project more successful and economical. Notices were sent on this as required by state law, and we did receive 1 phone call that was just a general inquiry about what the request was for, and once explained, they did not express any opposition. And the Planning and Zoning Commission is recommending approval of this item with a 6-0 vote.
Sorry, questions for Brady, council? Pretty straightforward, okay. Thank you, Mr. Kendrick.
No problem.
At this time, we will open a public hearing. Do I have anyone who would like to speak for or against this item? Seeing no one here today that's going to speak on this item, we will close the public hearing and I would entertain a vote or entertain a motion.
I move to adopt ordinance number 8202 as presented.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 10B, another public hearing. Ms. Rodarte, if you would come up here, walk us into this. This is our HUD housing.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Mayor and Council. Today we're requesting a public hearing and your consideration of this resolution for our 5-year.
Can you move the microphone just a little bit closer? Thank you.
Of course, sorry.
Thank you, ma'am.
For our 5-year consolidated plan. So a public hearing in your consideration of our 5-year consolidated plan. Our Community Development Advisory Committee, CDAC members, they met in June to host a first public meeting and hearing on this particular item. And we have 2 of our CDAC members here with us today. Kat Massey and Lee Studer are both in the audience. And I don't think I missed anyone else, but if I did, let me know. But we had our public hearing with CDAC on June 26th. So every 5 years, HUD requires that entitlement communities who receive community development block grant funds and home investment partnership funds prepare a 5-year strategic plan. And so that's what we're in the process of doing. Amarillo receives these entitlement funds based on our population, based on the numbers of individuals living in poverty, based on our housing stock. There are different factors that formulate the grant that the City of Amarillo receives. So there are several components of a consolidated plan. We receive input from the community on several different occasions. We try to engage community partners, and they also do assessments of the homelessness situation in our community as well as the housing situation. So the core principles, everybody who benefits from these funds need to be low or moderate income persons or communities. For CDBG funds and home funds, we need to take that into consideration. So those are really the individuals we're trying to engage when we're asking for survey input or feedback. And that's where the community participation comes in through surveys and public events, also public hearings. We try to also leverage resources within the city and also other private partnerships, and that we consider partner involvement in the funds and the allocation of funds. And the investment needs to be strategic and partnerships, so strategic and targeted partnerships. So we'll talk a little bit more about this. So for the community development block grant, there are some projects that are eligible and there are some that are ineligible. Some examples: housing rehabilitation, public service activities are eligible funds. We invest the cap, the 15% cap. This is helping those in the community, helping nonprofits in the community carry out their mission to serve others. Counseling service, subsistence payments, child care, domestic violence services, homeless services. We can also invest these funds in public facilities if it benefits the public, and in planning. They have to essentially meet an eligible matrix code. In eligible examples, we can't use the funding to fundraise. We can't use them for regular expenses related to the responsibilities of government, and so on. Beneficiaries, essentially, at least 51% of those who benefit from community development block grant funding have to be in the LMI, low to moderate income bracket. Some activities, such as our public service grants, 100% of those who benefit must fall into that LMI category. Home, for project eligibility here, home essentially focuses on either building, buying, or rehabilitating housing. It can also provide direct rental assistance. So our community engagement started back in January. At the point in time resource fair, we engaged individuals who attended that, and that continued throughout this spring at different events and with our different community partners. In June, we attended Starlight Theater, a couple of the events during the week of Juneteenth at the social services night and the Juneteenth brunch, and then we also had the CDAC meeting for the first public hearing, June 26th. Throughout the month of July, the 30-day comment period is continued, and we've published that public notice in the local newspapers, both in English and Spanish. Today's City Council meeting serves as the second public hearing for this particular item. To date, we haven't received any public comment outside of our surveys during this 30-day public comment period. At the beginning of June, we'd received over 200 surveys, but as I noted, we engaged in several different activities in the month of June, so we know that we've accrued more surveys at this time. Our consultants have helped us compile the data and do a lot of research into the City of Amarillo and the demographics and the housing stock in Amarillo to compile our consolidated plan. And there were several different priorities that have been identified. Emergency or minor rehabilitation. We carry out those activities through our CARE program or minor rehab program. Homeless services, which also include mental and behavioral health services, and housing or housing assistance. So those were some of the priorities identified in the community engagement. And so essentially how this works is they identify needs, and from those needs, we decide what projects and activities we're going to carry out. The example here, if the need is to provide decent housing, then the project might be housing rehabilitation and preservation, and so an emergency repair through the CARE program at 555 Main Street would be carried out. That would be the specific activity. So the priority needs, 3 were identified: decent housing, creating a suitable living environment, and expanding opportunities for LMI residents of Amarillo. The goals then that inform our activities are housing, public facilities and neighborhood improvements, public services, and then administration to carry out the activities. So we are projecting, how we projected these funds was we looked at what our allocation is for fiscal year 25 from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, and we projected that out 5 years. We don't know, we are not guaranteed that we'll receive this funding over each year or an exact dollar amount, but this is just an estimate. So we anticipate spending just short of $6.5 million in housing development. We carry that out through Care and Minor. Also, Habitat for Humanity, we partner with them. We are required to designate a percentage of funding to what we call the Community Housing Development Organization, or CHODO, and Habitat for Humanity is the partner that we work with there. Rental assistance through the tenant-based rental assistance program. And then creating a suitable living environment falls under housing through demolition of slum and blight, and we anticipate contributing $1 million toward those efforts within the city. Neighborhood improvements, these are parks and sidewalk projects. We're able to leverage funding in the sidewalk projects. We've been able to utilize our CDBG funding alongside neighborhood dollars to expand the sidewalk projects that we've done. And then for parks as well, we're leveraging the parks that we have available and the investment already in the parks to build upon that and make better and more accessible parks for people in the community, specifically people in LMI areas of the community. Public services is our next activity, and that we focus in order to really target the funds. We focus on homeless services and those services that are focused on preventing homelessness. So about $1.2 million we anticipate investing in other nonprofits. And then administration costs between both programs, the administration cost would be about $1.9 million over the next 5 years. And these just break this down per program. The next 2 slides just break down the funding per program. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Questions, council? None. Okay. Good presentation, ma'am. We appreciate that. Would, at this time, open a public hearing on item 10B. Do I have anyone here that would like to speak for or against this item? Mr. Fischer, please come forward.
Well, this goes along the lines of some of what I was talking about earlier. We have 2 former city employees that are in jail for stealing, I think, about $1 million from HUD money. And I find it ironic that they have a con plan in here. Look at that. It says CON plan, con plan. I mean, it's kind of ironic. But what I'd like to know is, what are we doing different now? How is it separated? Is it on the check register? Is it separate? So we can audit this, so we can see who's getting this money. I'm kind of seeing the picture now that it looks like, now I'm kind of seeing how Transformation Park was created. And I'm seeing a lot of this money going to Transformation Park. And I mean, I'm not, for anybody that thinks I'm just up here, just this guy hating on everything. I lived on HUD, man. I wouldn't be here right now. Welfare, food stamps, all that stuff. I was homeless, and the American dream, right? And it's my duty to look over this, to make sure that this money's going to the other Mikes that are coming up, to the other Coles that are coming up, anybody else that's gone through this that wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that. And we had public officials, our employees, stealing this money. So what are the audits that are in place? And like they talked about sidewalks. Is there a way to prevent, like, canceling out, like, city budget and moving this money to pay for sidewalks that would have probably been paid for by the city budget? So are we just robbing Peter to pay Paul? And I'd like to know, how do we avoid those things and
Sure.
the other questions about the register?
No, I appreciate you speaking on it, and I'll direct it to Mr. Path if you'd like me to have Stephanie come back up, or if you'd like to handle it a different way, we have several controls in place.
Either Stephanie or Jason, yes.
All right, am I free to just speak about all this? Okay. So in regards to the employees that were convicted of what they've done, we have done an extremely thorough audit of our department and have completely changed the way that those programs that those individuals were involved in, that the way that that has been handled is completely revamped. It goes through multiple checks and balances within the department and outside of the department. Additionally, we did not have an accountant in our department prior, and so we now have a CPA certified accountant that's in the department. So things go through her, and then it goes on to our accounting department. So as far as checks and balances, it is extremely balanced now. It is we audit all the time. I'm very pleased with the methods and the processes that we've put in place. Things are written down exactly how we do it. We have presented that to HUD. We presented that to the FBI. We presented that to the OIG, all of the entities that were involved in this investigation, and they were beyond pleased with the processes that we have put in place, and have actually given us no further recommendations on anything to do further than what we've done.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. Council, do we have any questions for Mr. Riddlesberger? Okay. Mr. Fischer, I appreciate you speaking. Before moving on, seeing if I have anyone else that would like to speak. Yeah, so the question is, what about the check register? So we can answer that as well. So as far as disbursement of these funds, how will that be handled?
Laura, is that something you can answer? Okay. Fair.
I apologize. I was trying to get the microphone to work. So the disbursement of the funds would go through the normal HUD processes, and since these are community development funds, I believe they would go through the community development bank account, and it would all be documented inside the community development bank account.
And then that'll be produced on the check register as we now put that online, correct?
So the community development check register is not part of the pooled check register, which is the one that we are posting online, but we could certainly produce that for anyone who needed it. It would require potentially some redaction because it is federal dollars with some confidential information going through it. Okay.
Well, I'll go back to my earlier statement about, no good deed goes unpunished. So it is a great example of, a citizen and a constituent of ours sitting here saying, well, now here we go again. Like we know we have anecdotal evidence something happened. We've admitted that. The FBI took that, prosecuted it. We're thankful that that's not happening, right? But then we're looking forward. How are we making sure that we don't get ourselves back in that position? The check registry being transparent and produced is helpful, but it's probably not the end all, right? And so what we look for is internal controls and multiple controls. What we saw was a lack of control, I believe. And then we had COVID, which allowed for even fewer controls than what we had before. So I know that's not satisfactory other than walking it out. I wouldn't say that any amount of time spent here today or however many employees we have speak would satisfy you and your concern, because your concern is scrutinizing government as a whole and also knowing what has happened. So I think the additional scrutiny is well warranted because of the theft that took place. Because I can't satisfy that here today, I would just say, it's helpful conversation. We're continuing to look at it. We're trying to continue to improve. This may be an additional improvement we would look at. And is it time well spent for staff to redact these things and put them on, on the web page as well? I don't know. But I at least appreciate you getting up to the microphone. Do I have anyone else here today? Yes, sir, if you have a comment.
New guy question. Where did the funds come from? Is it from HUD all the 8 million and the 3.3? Is that where that?
So these are our CDBG funds and HUD funds, but all comes from the same pool.
Yes, it all comes from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD.
Okay, and when will those funds be allocated? Are they already been allocated for 25 or?
For 25, we have the allocation. We should receive that around October 1st. Sometimes it comes in November, but it's all on a reimbursement. So we know our allocation. And then just for fiscal year 25, which is actually what I'll go over next specifically. But we know that allocation, and we'll have those funds for disbursement after October 1.
Now, is that 8 million and the 3.3, is that per,
No,
is that for the 4 years?
That's anticipated for the next 5 years,
5 years.
2025 through 2029. Yes, sir.
Okay, and just one clarifying question, and I don't know who would answer it, but how did we discover the theft?
Good question.
I can respond to that too if needed. It was discovered internally by our department, and it was brought to the attention of our internal audit team and our financial team, and so we researched it, and then we reported it on to the FBI and to HUD and went from there. And I will add one additional comment. During the time period that this occurred, there was a change in some of the processes and controls that we had normally had on some of these funds because of COVID. And the federal government required us to remove some of our controls that we had in place to help prevent certain things from occurring because we were in a COVID situation where people were required to stay a certain distance, not come in to certain facilities. And so we complied with the regulations that we were given, and unfortunately it left us exposed for a situation like this.
What was the timing of the last amount of the fraud or theft until we discovered it?
Oh, it
was ongoing. It was still going on when we discovered it.
Okay.
So I appreciate the opportunity to kind of bring this out a little bit, but we had been, since Stephanie and I took over the department, we have been auditing and checking through the department on every process that we do. So as a result of that, as one of our citizens has asked about, are we really checking these things out thoroughly? That's how we discovered this, was because we were doing this. This is exactly what I come into a department and I see if there are processes that have gaps in it, then that's what I need to fill and figure out. How do we make sure that those things don't happen? When we did that, we discovered it. So that's a good thing. And we've not only taken the measures against those areas where it was happening, we've also cleaned that up across the department. So overall it's done well because it's helped our department have much better processes to make sure this doesn't happen again.
Thank you for that. And it's good when internal controls catch things as opposed to finding out otherwise.
And it can be problematic whenever folks that are put in positions that can make those decisions, and if they're criminals, they do criminal things.
Understand.
Luckily in this case, the criminal is caught and they're put in jail.
Thank you.
And I just want to clarify that, expand upon that we do have certain requirements for people that are hired into the city of Amarillo, and especially in financial type roles. And so we do a certain amount, or maybe a limited amount of, we do background checks and some of that kind of stuff as well. So I just wanted to state that as well. But I think to Jason's point that if someone is compelled to do something like that, and if they can find a way, then at times it's challenging for us to stop it.
I'd like to mention one other thing, that during the process of these things, every year we go through an external audit. So we are audited by an external firm that comes in to check us. Every year, HUD actually audits some kind of program of ours. Sometimes it's 2 or 3 different programs. We went through several HUD-led audits that never caught any of this. That's how sophisticated these people were about trying to cover that up. They were using some of the COVID waivers that were put in place by HUD to allow monies to be spent easier. They used those waivers in order to be able to do this, what they were doing. And it's not, unfortunately, we're not the only community that this has happened. It happened a lot during COVID because of those waivers. So I know for us, in the future, we will never use waivers again. We will always do the procedures. As long as I'm in charge, we will go through these very strenuous hoops that we're going to go through before we disseminate money.
Thank you both.
I believe I have Mr. Studer who'd like to offer comment. If you come forward, sir.
Lee Studer, I live in the city limits. I just recently rejoined the board, but speaking of institutional knowledge, many years ago, for about 5-6 years, I was on this same board doing the same work. And so when I thought about volunteering again, and then that story hit, it raised questions for me as going to be a committee member about what had taken place to tighten that up. I would like to assure not only the council, but the citizens, I am 100% convinced that Jason and this team have done not only what they needed to, but are committed to doing what they need to do moving forward. And their heart is 100% doing things right to help the most people, to in effect then help the city of Amarillo. And I just wanted y'all to know that from a citizen that's just volunteering his time on a committee. We're in really good hands with this team right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Studer. Do I have anyone else here who would like to offer public comment? Okay, at this time we'll close the public hearing. Would entertain a motion on item 10B.
I move to adopt ordinance number 722-25-3.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second from place 2. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Ms. Stephanie, are you back up on the next one?
Yes. Okay, so the second item is also for a public hearing and then your consideration. This would be the second public hearing. This is for the annual action plan. So this is essentially just the first year of funding that we talked about in that consolidated plan. So the 2025 annual action plan involves funding for CDBG, Community Development Block Grant. We have been awarded a little over $1.6 million for the upcoming fiscal year starting October 1. We will invest that in public services with the 15% cap. You can invest up to 15%, and that's our intention. Those organizations include the Guyon Saunders Resource Center, Martha's Home, Maverick Boys and Girls Club, Salvation Army, Another Chance House, and Amarillo Children's Home. Those would be the subrecipients outside of the city of Amarillo, and then Coming Home will also receive a portion of those funding, of that funding for public services. Planning and administration is capped at 20%. That's to carry out the activities and salaries for the grant team and administration. Neighborhood improvements include the parks and sidewalks that we talked about. Demolition and clearance for dangerous structures, $200,000, and owner-occupied improvements. We do the CARE program for any kind of urgent repair that can help a homeowner stay in their home if they qualify based on their income. And so this is a way to prevent homelessness, and we've really seen a good outcomes from the use of those dollars. The home allocation is about $667,000. So planning and administration is capped at 10% for this particular fund. The CHODO, or the Community Housing Development Organization, in which we partner with Habitat for Humanity, we must dedicate at least 15% of home dollars to new construction and a maximum of 5% toward their operations. Habitat at this time is our only CHODO in the community, and so we've partnered with them for several years as they build new homes for individuals who qualify for their homes. And then tenant-based rental assistance. This program is a rental assistance program, a direct assistance program for those who qualify based on their income. And we are actually using it not just for rental assistance, but also deposit assistance for people who just need the assistance to get into the home but maybe don't need an ongoing rental payment or subsidy. So that's essentially what our annual action plan, aligning with our consolidated plan, will do for the first year. And so if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Questions from Ms. Rodarte? No? Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate that additional presentation. At this time, I'll go ahead and open up another public hearing on item 10C. Do I have anyone here that would like to speak for or against this item? Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing on 10C and ask for a motion.
I move to adopt resolution number 07-22-25-4 as presented.
Second.
Motion and a second from place 2. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. We'll move on to item 10D here. Mr. Riddlesberger, are you going to run this one for us?
Yes, sir. I will handle this one. This is the easy of the three. So while we were doing our plan, our consolidated plan, the 5-year plan, and our annual action plan, we recognized the fact that we needed to update our citizen participation plan. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what the CPP is. So basically, it's the framework for how we want the public to participate. That's one of the most important things we can do. You can see in our 5-year consolidated plan, we had over 200 people participating with surveys. We went out to the public to find them. So we found that that's the best way we can do that, is to go to the folks that we're trying to get to participate in the plans. This is required by HUD for both of the programs that we've just talked about, and it ensures transparency and community input, which is very important. Why does that input matter? The funds are addressing the things that matter to the folks that we're trying to help: housing, infrastructure, and community needs. Those voices are the ones we want to hear from, the folks that this is actually helping. So it helps us with informed decisions, which equals better outcomes. So again, CDBG, it supports low to moderate income neighborhoods. It funds housing, public services, and improvements. Stephanie covered that very well. Home Investment Partnership supports rehab, rental assistance, and new construction. So how can citizens participate? This is what this plan, which will be publicized, put on our website, and available to the public. This is what we're telling them that they can do in order to participate. We want them to attend public hearings. We want them to participate in those community surveys, and then give us written comments on the plans that we put out for them. These are the plans that require that input, that we have to be very intentional about trying to get input from our public, especially those that this affects. Things like what we've just presented with Stephanie. She did the 5-year consolidated plan. We've done the annual action plan today. And then we also do the CAPER, which is our annual performance report that we put out after the fact. So we're bragging on the things that we've done over the year. And then any kind of major amendments that we have that we need to bring to the public as well. And those things we'll know when they come up. How do we notify the public? Again, legal ads in the newspaper. We do that in both the English and Spanish. Our city website, social media. The city website is now looking fantastic, and it's very easy to find things now. Used to it was a little bit more difficult, but on our website, we're real excited about people being able to navigate that well. And I know Emma does a great job of helping get people to the right place as well. Also our social media, public service announcements, and then our outreach through the community partners. So our commitment is that everyone has the opportunity to participate and be heard. We do have ADA and language accommodations. We can have any kind of issue that someone needs in order to be able to participate. We can help mitigate those things. We also have respectful consideration of all feedback. How can people get involved? Attend a meeting, take our surveys, and contact us directly. We will help walk you through that. We love people that want to participate. I love seeing people come into our meetings, and we want that to continue, and we want more people to participate. Any questions?
Questions for Mr. Riddlesberger, council? Thank you, sir. At this time, we will go ahead and open up another public hearing on item 10D. Do I have anyone here who would like to speak for or against this item? Seeing no one, we'll go ahead and, please come forward, sir.
I didn't plan on this, but Timothy Gassaway here in Amarillo, Texas. I only have one question. community partners. What community partners did you partner with to come up with your document? Is my question.
So specific to item 10D, the question is a list perhaps of community partners that helped create this document? Is that what the question is?
Yes, and specifically
okay.
Neighborhood associations that the city of Amarillo has identified as designated neighborhood associations.
Mr. Riddlesberger, can you answer that one?
Is this one on? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so as far as neighborhood associations, we have actually contracted with a firm that's helping us with our consolidated plan and annual action plan. So they were the ones that were conducting our community surveys because we didn't want it to specifically come from us. We provided them with numerous different agencies. I know that they were able to contact many of them. I know for sure Downtown Women's Center was one of those, another Chance House, Salvation Army, Faith City, multiple agencies that we work with as far as our nonprofits. As far as the neighborhood associations, that was provided to them. If they've not talked with you and your group, I don't know. But you're always welcome. This is a public hearing. As far as adding anything specific to these plans, that we'd love to have you include that. And we can include that in the public document.
Okay. I understand where we're at now. I will not be happy if this continues. You have an ability to reach out to North Heights. You're not utilizing it because you're getting failure because you're going through one organization. And if we don't get the information.
So we do participate with North Heights. We've got a great project that's happening right now in North Heights. 2 very big projects.
But that's in that one area in the projects that you're speaking of. There's more opportunities to get different projects is what I'm trying to tell you.
So, Mr. Gassaway, you also are president, Black Chamber of Commerce, is that correct?
That is correct.
So what I would just offer, moving forward, maybe we could plug
100%
the chamber in as an additional contact point there, because I do know the North Heights Neighborhood Association has been contributing as well. So
okay, so yeah, I'll figure this out.
I think we're glad to make that connection moving forward.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else that'd like to offer public comment here today? Okay, at this time, I'll close the public hearing on item 10D and ask for a motion.
I'd move to adopt resolution 0722255 as presented.
Second. Motion and a second from place 4. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes on 10D. Moving right along.
Mayor, can I ask one question just
yes,
before
sir.
we go?
Go right ahead.
I noticed a couple of places on there where we're funding demolition of structures that, is that the only money that we have to do that, or is there other money that we're receiving to do those structures?
We also have money built into the general fund budget through City Marshal's office.
All right. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, and I believe we increased it over the last 2 budget cycles, and it's really proven to be good. I know our city marshals work real hard out there. They do a great job. We've seen massive improvements in kind of the overall cleanup around town. Still got work to do, but city marshals department, we appreciate them over there. Not the funnest of jobs, but the funnest of jobs is obviously Brady Kendrick, who is our favorite presenter here today, bringing forward item 10E.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. This is a consideration of Ordinance 8203. This is the first reading of an ordinance vacating a 10-foot wide public utility easement located within lots 2A, 2C, 2D, Block 3, Amarillo Medical Center, Unit 4. This is in Potter County, Texas, in the vicinity of Amarillo Boulevard and Kilgore Drive, and the applicant is Park Hill for the Board of Regents of the Texas A&M University System. And this is the site of the Panhandle State Hospital facility that's under construction, and this easement is located within that proposed site. It was originally intended to be utilized as this property is multiple lots, and is going to be the potential routing for utilities for if those lots had each developed individually. With that no longer being the case, there were never utilities placed within this easement. And that easement is the location approximately of the parking lot for the proposed state hospital facility, and is the reason they are requesting a vacation of this easement. We send this out to the city utility departments and also the franchise utility companies we work with, and none of them objected to the abandonment of this easement. And the Planning and Zoning Commission did recommend approval of this abandonment with a 6-0 vote.
Questions for Brady, council? Okay, you have a consideration before you.
Move to adopt ordinance 8203 as presented.
Second.
Motion and a second on item 10E. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Appreciate it. Item 10F, we have Mr. Alan Harder coming up here to talk to us about some more pavement we're going to get replaced.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This will be very quick. So this is consideration of approval of the contract for $2 million for on-call street patching services. So if you recall, back in April, I provided an update on our ongoing street patching contracts, one of which was almost wrapped up at that time and has since finished. The other one is almost done at this time. Been very happy with the quality of work that we got out of that, and so it was asked if I could put together a plan for re-awarding another contract for something very similar but more focused on larger areas, things about 1 lane wide and longer stretches of pavement. And so working with our purchasing department, we put together a best value bid for just that. For a not to exceed of $2 million. We received 3 responses, all from very well qualified local contractors. Luckily, the lowest unit price contractor was also the highest evaluated contractor, Advanced Pavement Maintenance, and so I'm here today recommending award of this contract. We're in time with what was presented as far as getting a notice to proceed out July, August of this year, and still have several months this summer to complete some good paving projects before it turns cold. So with that, I'll ask you if you have any questions.
Questions, council? Mr. Harder, we appreciate what you're doing over there, carrying out a good plan.
Thanks, sir.
Would request a motion on item 10F.
I move that we award the contract mentioned in item 10F as presented.
Second.
Motion and a second on 10F. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We're going to keep going here. We have Mr. Danforth coming up to talk about Fire Station number 14, ready to go.
Mayor, Council, I'm looking forward to presenting this to you. This has been a challenging project. As you know, this project originally started out as a single company station, which is what it was funded for. As we went through the challenges on this project, looking for real estate that we could actually utilize, looking at multiple options, working in conjunction with the fire department and with our architects and engineers, the Sims group, we were running up against a brick wall for a while, literally in some of the sites that we were looking at. As we went forward, and as you approved in the budget last year, we requested the additional funding to utilize a 2-company station with some additional space to be developed once we did land on the site to build on. So in going forward, keep in mind, and you will see this on the agenda, at our next agenda, we will have an adjustment on the contract for Sims Architects on that, because we went from a single company design to a dual company design with conference space built in. But I do want to show you the site. It's an exciting site for us to move forward on. These are the artistic renderings provided by Sims. What we're looking at is a 2-company fire station at Quail Creek Drive, a 2-story structure optimized for a sloped site. Mayor Stanley, I know you can identify with this. With the slope on that site, it is a challenging build. Fortunately, everybody was up to the task to accomplish it. And looking at the way that the site lays out as we look at the future site slides, you'll see what the challenges were. The building includes a conference and training space to be shared with all of the Amarillo Fire Department. Keep in mind the reason for the changes and the needs for this to become a 2-company station It services the medical district, which was underserved at the time and still currently is. That allows the fire department to fill those holes, and that really is really a testament to the collaboration between the fire department and everybody involved in the design of this facility. So as you, here what you're looking at is the front view. As you drive down Quail Creek, this is what you're going to be looking at moving forward. There again, the two company station, very similar to what you see on Fire Station 5 on Washington. This overhead view shows you the challenges of the site. Not only are we dealing with a great amount of slope, but we're dealing with a triangle to build a fire station on. So the challenge is to be able to get fire trucks out of there to respond quickly. Because of the slope, we had to deal with some dirt issues on this to maintain the grades so that we can get fire trucks out in bad weather. Here's a back view looking back towards Quail Creek, and then basically we would be over West Amarillo Creek at this view. You can see on the back side, we did do some additional security in there, but keeping in mind that that future development and maybe use for the fire department is available on the back side of that lot going forward. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions on Station 14, gentlemen? None at all. We've never let Jerry go this easy. Let me think of a few questions.
I was going to do the sign of the cross here and say.
Before you get your holy water out.
There we go.
No, it's been a while coming, and so we appreciate it. So budget grew a little bit, but I think the value's definitely there. And then you overcame a lot. I think Freeman was pretty instrumental in finding this lot. We were told, couldn't do it, retaining wall, all sorts of stuff. You guys worked out a lot. And then we know our architect enjoyed the challenge, I'm sure.
Yes.
So you got you a good contractor, somebody here who's ready to build it. And I think we're ready to kick it out and get it going. What's the build time look like on this? When will they start? When will they finish?
As soon as we get the contract documents in front of them, Plains Builders is ready to move as quickly as possible. They're currently on another project for us right now, but we anticipate to be doing a groundbreaking probably within the next 30 days.
Okay. What's the turnaround build time, you think?
I would estimate we're probably going to be close to what we had for Fire Station 5, which we turned that one in 13, almost 14 months.
Okay. Total square footage on this one, do you know roughly?
Not off the top of my head, I don't.
19,000 feet, okay. And then the really good news, I think, is currently I think we're ready to staff this. And if we're not, then we'll turn out another academy. We'd be right on it.
Yes, we've got the staff now to staff it.
Yeah.
We built that in the budget the last couple of years. So
Yeah.
right now they're helping with overtime.
That's good. That's good. Well, all systems go for everything public safety. You have our full support, and we look forward to getting this contract awarded. Council, with no further discussion, I would ask for a motion.
I move to award the contract for 10G to Plains Builders in the amount of $7,395,120.
Second. I have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Appreciate you, Mr. Danforth. Look forward to seeing that one come out of the ground. Getting close. We got 2 items left. We'll go to item 10H, bring Mr. Nelson back up here to walk us through this incentive.
I've just been told that the screens do not like our slides, so we're going to have a little flickering here. Thank you, Mayor.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
We do have 3 representatives from the company joining us today. Mr. Scott Olson, who's the General Counsel for IAC, Martin Ford, Plant Manager here locally, and Herb Curtis, Vice President of American Operations. So we appreciate them joining us today. All right, so International Aerospace Coatings offers an extensive range of aircraft finishing and aviation services. They have been at the Rick Husband Amarillo International Airport for over 30 years. They currently lease 4 narrow-body hangars and 1 wide-body hangar from the airport, and they have workforce of approximately 171 employees. This facility does operate 2 shifts, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. This opportunity, International Aerospace Coatings plans to build a 78,000 square foot wide body hangar in addition to continuing to lease the other 5 hangars from the airport. This wide body hangar is expected to have a capital investment of $27.7 million and will add up to 70 full-time equivalents to their workforce, and they will pay them an average of at least $55,000 per employee. The map you have in front of you is the additional square footage that IAC is leasing from the airport. That additional lease space is approximately 99,000 square feet, and that's where they will build this wide-body hangar. So there's 2 things that we're going to talk about today. This first item is a tax abatement. The second item will be our location and incentive agreement. I'm going to cover them both in the same presentation. So the $27.7 million in capital expenditure, up to 70 new full-time jobs, and an average annual salary of $55,000 plus. Our job creation incentive is $10,000 per full-time equivalent. We pay that out over 5 years. After they perform, they report, and then we cut them a check for that incentive. They do get a 2-year ramp up under the location incentive agreement. This was approved by the AEDC Board of Directors on their July 15th meeting, 5-0. The other proposal is, of course, the tax abatement proposal. Based on their level of capital expenditure and the amount of new employees that they will achieve, they qualify for 80% abatement on the improvements year 1. That abatement declines by 10% every year over 8 years. So it's 80, 70, 60, etc. The airport lease amendment was approved today by y'all. This is a very busy slide. So I'm going to just take a minute to talk about it. The benefits, this is the economic impact of them creating 70 full-time equivalents and the economic impact of the $27 million worth of investment. So the benefits total to the city of Amarillo are a little bit over $5 million. The cost of those benefits ends up being about $2.3 million. So the net benefits to the city over a period of 20 years is $2.7 million. That amount does not include the value of the tax abatement, which is approximately $394,000. So really the net benefit to the city is more like $2.3 million. Okay, just the way the software works. So the 80% declining over 8 years benefits the business by $394,000. The property taxes that the city of Amarillo will achieve over that 20-year period is $2.4 million. So the net collection, the benefit to the community, is $2 million worth of additional tax. So just wanted y'all to have an opportunity to look at that economic impact. The next slide is what AEDC's impact is and how long the benefits take to overcome the $700,000 that we're proposing through our location and incentive agreement. And as you can see, at $10,000 per job, up to 70 jobs, we've got a 94.8% rate of return, and the payback period is 1.3 years. That is the end of my presentation. Today, we're asking y'all to approve in this agenda item the tax abatement agreement between Amarillo, the City of Amarillo, and International Aerospace Coatings. That's an 80% tax abatement that goes down by 10% each year over 8 years. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Questions, council?
On the impact reports, do we get one of those on every project that comes through the AEDC?
Typically, yes, sir.
Okay. And then you have an economic impact to the AEDC, and then the impact report for expansion only? I mean, so we would...
This is expansion only. This does not take into account the 171 jobs they currently have at the site, nor does it take into account the over $9 million worth of payroll at that site.
Okay.
This is only the expansion.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions for Mr. Nelson?
I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead,
A
I'm
couple
sorry.
questions I have. I don't know if you, just maybe someone from IAC can answer this, because I'm just interested in kind of knowing this, but how many planes do you paint annually now, and what will this enable you to do in the future?
I can speak to how many they painted last year.
Okay.
It was 181 for OEM customers, their customer base. They serviced 181 planes out of this facility last year.
Yeah, I mean, we probably get another 50 to 60.
If you want to come up, that way people can hear you, and I've just got two other questions that maybe you'd be more, thank you.
Yeah, Scott Olson. It depends on the mix that we get in there. If it's all wide bodies, it's less aircraft per year. If it's narrow bodies, 2 at a time, obviously you're going to have shorter paint times and more aircraft, but somewhere between 40 and 60 aircraft would be a good estimate.
And
additional, yeah, for the new hangar.
And then who in general are your clients? I mean, whose planes are we seeing here?
You're generally getting United, American. You're getting some cargo planes in here for the wide body. You're getting Aeromexico's in there right now. You'll see basically all of, U.S. and some international carriers.
Yeah. And what's kind of the reason for the expansion? I mean, what opportunities will you have that you don't have now with this expansion?
Well, the aircraft painting market is pretty saturated. There's more demand than space, and it's there's a high barrier to entry. Building these hangars, they're expensive and take a long time, and there's cost of money and all these things. So there's just more aircraft that need to be painted than there are slots. So we're taking advantage of that.
And is there a size airplane that you will not be able to paint, or will you be able to handle any size airplane?
I don't think an A380 would fit in there, but those aren't really around for painting anyway. But we're going to go to the 777X in that facility, which makes it very interesting for OEMs potentially, certainly for all of our commercial customers.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
Any other questions? No. Mr. Nelson, we appreciate I'd say the presentation, including the impact reports, very helpful. So thank you for that. Since we have no further questions, I would ask for a motion on item 10H.
So moved.
Motion?
Second.
And a second. Any further discussion on 10H? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Would ask for a motion on item 10I.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second from place 4. Any further discussion on item 10I was included in the previous presentation? Okay. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with a 5-0 vote. Item number 11 would ask for a motion.
I motion that we adjourn.
I'll second that.
We got a motion and a second. You're adjourned. Thank you guys for attending. Is that just the right?